for me. They ain't lurking for free. Got some shorties outside, they won't go to sleep.
Police in Chicago are facing pressure to bring the city's rising violence under control. More than 4,300 people have been shot this year, and there have been more than 750 homicides, the worst numbers in 2 decades.
Before President Obama started his emotional speech Tuesday against gun violence, 2 people had been shot in Chicago, say police.
We are the only advanced country on earth that sees this kind of mass violence erupt with this kind of frequency.
Soon after he finished speaking, that number would jump to 3. By day's end, 9 more would be shot, 4 fatally.
In developing tonight, city leaders say they need help. The call comes after a mass shooting at the Parkway Gardens complex on the south side that wounded 6 people.
Now, growing up in Chicago, what was that like for you? Can you paint that picture for us?
It was regular for me, like, you know, because I grew up here, and but when I look at other people, so I'm moving around, I see how other people growing up and how they life is. Like, so it'd probably be hard for them. It ain't the same as I see everybody else. Me growing up, when I got in trouble early, 15 years old, shit like that. Like, I ain't graduate high school and shit, all that shit. So when it was time for me to step up, I was already in jail. I was already in trouble.
Street activity.
Yes, you can get killed going to school. People get killed going to school. You get killed on bus stops, going to school, out the house 7 in the morning, shit like that. You get killed like that easy in Chicago.
We can't even put our mind in what it must be like to be a kid that grows up in the south side of Chicago in 2024, where you're seeing people shot every weekend. To expect that child to come out of that environment and then go to Yale and be fine with everything. When he's heard bullets whiz by his head, he's seen his friends get shot in the street, he's seen drive-bys, he's seen all that.
Roy just different, you know what I'm saying? He was a real enforcer. Like, Shorty was right, he was out here for real, you know? Shorty was real out here, like, some people would just, like, can't help it. Like, call T.Roy, you gonna go crazy, you know?
Start, they gon' eat something. If you ain't oblock, you ain't on nothing.
James Johnson, aka T.Roy, was born on October 30th, 1993 in Chicago, Illinois. He was born and raised in the Parkway Gardens, and he grew up in a very crowded environment in the infamous housing projects. He lived in a home with his 2 brothers and sister, as well as his mom, grandmother, father, and several cousins. But unlike other people who would become synonymous with the area, T.Roy was born and raised, and his family had strong ties there before it would ever be known as Wick City or any other name. In the early 1990s, more and more BDs started to migrate to Parkway Gardens, but it's said that during this time, BDs had their own buildings and GDs had their buildings as well. Some say that the gangs were actually all clicked up during this time, under the banner of Parkway Murder Drive, before it was completely taken over by the Black Disciples. T.Roy had an uncle named Tokyo G, who was the father of Big Talk from Black Mob. He was well known and well respected in the Parkway Gardens and known for being a big-time drug dealer. During this time, the owner of the apartment complex began to let residents move in without doing a background check, which attracted a lot of people who were trying to set up drug operations. T.Roy's uncle Tokyo G was one of those individuals, and he was known for getting a lot of money, until he was murdered on September 23rd of 1996. It's been reports that Tokyo G's murder was the very first body to drop in a very bitter rivalry between the GDs on 63rd and the BDs on 6400 Martin Luther King Drive. During that time, 63rd was known as Boss City, and would later change its name to STL. T.Roy also had an older cousin who was well known in the streets, named Larry Pickens, aka Nutso from Lakeside. But he represented Wick City as well once they changed the name. He was violently murdered in the mid-2000s. Allegedly, he was murdered by G. Fazo from the No Limit Muskegon Boys. There are countless stories about T.Roy's family roots in the Parkway Gardens, and this is the type of environment that he was raised in, surrounded by gangs, drugs, and murder, facing the same issues that many kids in the hoods of Chicago and across America face every day. A lack of resources, a lack of opportunity that turns into a lack of hope for the future. During T.Roy's time in elementary school and middle school, it wasn't a place for him to learn the basic educational necessities that he would need in order to become a productive citizen. It was more like gladiator school, a place to meet up and fight against your ops. This became a common occurrence while T.Roy was attending Walter H. Dyatt High School. It's said that him and fellow oblock members would constantly have to fight against members from Gyro City, STL, and Mob. But these childhood scuffles would turn into some of the most deadly times in Chicago in the 2010s. Around this same time, there was another young man who was starting to come of age in the Chicago streets. His name was Davon Bennett and would later be known as King Von. Born on August 9th of 1994 to Natasha Chambers and Walter Silk Bennett, who was a well-known drug dealer and black disciple from the Ada Park neighborhood. He was murdered on July 31st of 2005 due to gang violence. The story goes he was shot in the head by a sniper after leaving a skating rink. King Von was just 11 years old when his father was murdered. He grew up in an area called Killer Ward, known for being predominantly gangster disciples. Around 2009, his family relocated to Parkway Gardens. But even after relocating, he continued to spend a lot of time around his guys from Killer Ward, and a lot of them were cool with STL St. Lawrence. So King Von spent time on 63rd around people who would later become some of his most hated rivals. It's said that once members of STL learned that King Von was living in Parkway Gardens, they felt like he was trying to play both sides and tried to constantly jump him while he was attending Hyde Park High School. Carlton Weekly, aka FBG Duck, went there too, and accused King Von of switching from GD when he lived in Killer Ward to Black Disciple when he moved to Parkway Gardens. King Von will later dispute these claims, but FBG Duck states that it's all facts.
Nigga be straight clown out. Especially Von. He know he got his ass beat. And Tuga, he got his ass beat on the bus. Your ass used to hang with us on Tuga. You flipped because your ass was scared. Shondell Gregory, your ass was scared. Your ass used to hang with us on Tuga. Your ass is from Killer Ward. You're not even from O-Block, bro.
King Von daddy beat him. If Von would have still lived over there when he jumped off the porch before his mama moved over, Von would have been GD. But King Von lived where the gangsters was at. GDs. One of the biggest GD sets in Chicago. Folks in them GD crazy. Just so happened his mama moved somewhere where the BDs was at and his daddy BD. So it just, it felt right for him. But if his mama ain't moved over there, that boy would have been throwing up pitchforks, man.
While living on his new block, King Von met T.Roy, and the two quickly became best friends. They had a shared hatred for STL in Gyro City, as well as 051 Young Money and TYMB. But it wasn't just T.Roy who Von got close with. It was people like White, Chief Keef, O.D. Perry, Platoon, She-Roy, Boss Top, E-Dog, BJ, and many others. King Von already had a reputation in Killer Ward for being active as a youngin', but T.Roy taught him what he needed to know to survive in Parkway Gardens. They both began to take guns to school on a regular basis. G Herbo from NLMB, who was going to school with Von during this time, would even rap about it on the song FaceTime, rapping about how Von showed him a revolver in his freshman year. The schoolyard fights were now trending towards gunplay, and during this time in the early 2010s, there were multiple events taking place in the city that would prove to be a perfect recipe for disaster. The Chicago Police Department had historically low numbers when it came to murders and non-fatal shootings, some of the lowest in the United States. There's been a lot of blame placed on Illinois politicians, which some people believe have passed laws that turned the city into a war zone. Some people say it's because the police are understaffed and lack the manpower, but others believe that it's simply because they don't care and view gang murders as collateral damage. Mix that with a broken public school system that's more like a breeding ground for crime than it is higher learning, along with drill music that was on the rise during that time as well, being led by T.Roy and King Von's good friend Chief Keef, a new genre of music that celebrated disrespect, violence, and murder. It would become the soundtrack to a new generation of gang members in Parkway Gardens and beyond. On his song, I Don't Like, Chief Keef would say the lyrics, "And we ain't gonna fight, our guns gonna fight," and that's exactly what was on the horizon.
We're going to take you now to Chicago, where this past weekend at least 52 people were shot, 8 of them killed in a wave of violence across the city. What is going on there? Here's Chris V.Roy.
The mayhem at this housing project made no more sense than any of the other shootings, found in a weekend of violence so typical it didn't even make the front pages.
They're waging war in the streets of Chicago, and we're losing children every single day.
Most of the shootings took place in poor neighborhoods, far from downtown and tourist attractions. One reason much of the city seems to be shrugging its shoulders.
I think people just say, oh, it's a bunch of gangbangers shooting at each other. Unfortunately, though, often a lot of innocent people get caught in the crossfire.
It's said that in late 2010, a fight took place between FBG Butter and King Von. According to members of STL, Butter got the best of Von, and within 20 minutes of the fight being over, BDs from Parkway Gardens had already came back to 63rd and shot FBG Butter in the leg.
You mentioned Butter and Vaughn on the bus. You were there for that. Can you kind of take me through?
I just remember hearing loud commotion. I looked off the porch and see the bus right there. So I guess I'm at the bus stop. I see it stop. So I've been off the porch. I see it. Whole crowd of right there. So I run down there. Bro, I'm running through the crowd. Now I see Butter. He swinging on Vaughn. Bro, they fighting. You feel me? Butter getting the best now. You feel me? But Vaughn, he ain't going. He fighting back. You feel me? Butter fought him one-on-one. You feel me? I fought him and Killer War them right there. They try here like, yeah, just, you know, he talking this little, you feel me? He just whooped Vaughn. Butter got shot behind.
So wait, Butter got shot in his the same, that day?
That day.
Okay, well.
Literally 20 minutes later, probably not even 20.
You lost one fight before.
I swear to God, and I popped that person.
Grab Butter, whole kneecap was blew off, bro. I'm talking about his whole leg was blew off. I ain't never seen no shit like that. It looked like some army, looked like some Call of.
Soon the brewing war between 63rd STL and Parkway Gardens, also known as Wick City, would be fully unleashed on the streets of Chicago, because on the evening of January 12, 2011, Shondell Gregory was waiting at a bus stop on East 63rd. Then a dark colored vehicle pulled up and a man wearing a mask got out. According to witnesses, he asked the people there if they knew when the next bus was coming. Then he walked behind the bus shelter. That's when he pulled out a long silver gun that looked like a revolver and shot Shondell Gregory once, then shot him 3 more times as he stumbled to the ground, dying on the scene at only 15 years old. He was known as Tuka on 63rd, the best friend to FBG Duck, FBG Brick, Jakira K.I. Barnes, and many others in STL. He was a beloved member, and now they wanted revenge. Word started going around that it was a member of Wick City that killed Tuka, a best friend to T.Roy and King Von, named O.D. Perry. People assumed that it was him because he would often post on social media with a silver revolver, similar to the gun described to kill Tuka. But there's also speculation that O.D. Perry had nothing to do with it, and that it was actually a gang called TYMB, or Ty You're My Brother. But even if it was just a rumor now, it was too late. O.D. Perry became a top target for STL, and on August 10th, 2011, at about 11:30 p.m., O.D. Perry was riding his bike on the 400 block of East 64th. He was headed back to Wick City after going to the Swisher store, but before he could reach the gates, a car pulled up. A gunman got out and shot O.D. Perry twice, once in the neck. Members of Wick City witnessed the whole thing, and T.Roy was one of those people who was by O.D.'s side as they tried to save him, waiting for the ambulance. He was pronounced dead in the early morning hours of August 11, 2011, passing away at only 20 years old. Watching one of his best friends slip away right before his very eyes traumatized T.Roy. And like everybody else in Wick City, he wanted revenge. And in honor of O.D. Perry, they would rename Parkway Gardens Oblock. The murders of Shondell Gregory and O.D. Perry would serve as the catalyst to a war that would last for the next decade, with numerous bodies dropping on both sides, and young lives being taken at an alarming rate before they could even reach the age of 21.
hookah while I'm smoking on. Shondell, oblock, bitch, do my team, bro. Oblock, right up on your block, bitch. Go, man.
King Von was locked up while all of this was happening. He caught a robbery charge in January of 2011. They were trying to give him years, but he would ultimately be sentenced to time in a military-style boot camp for juveniles. But while Von was down, T.Roy would constantly represent him. He even changed his Twitter handle to Free King Von, and often wearing clothes that read the same. But they were both about to lose another friend to their hated rivals on 63rd. Because on October 11th of 2011, Edward Riley, aka Platoon, would be shot and killed in front of Oblock. It was reported that he was shot in the face and then multiple times in the body, and whoever did it stood over him. Platoon was only 20 years old when he was murdered. T.Roy wanted revenge for Platoon, and he knew exactly who to go after. STL Eberhart had been all over social media taking credit for not only killing Platoon, but also killing O.D. Perry. Rapper Lil J, who was affiliated with 63rd, would even tweet out, "Shout out to them twins who created Oblock," referring to FBG Butter and K.I. Some people believe that it was actually Rodney Stewart, aka Boss Trail from STL along with K.I. were the ones who really killed O.D. Perry. Not to mention that K.I. would famously pose with the silver revolver that O.D. Perry was once known to have. But there are rumors that they actually had nothing to do with it, and that it was really somebody else who was down with STL that pulled the trigger. And when it came to the death of Platoon, one of the most deadly members of STL would take credit for it, Rasan Shaw, aka Lil B. He was known to run with K.I., and the duo would frequently go on drills together, adding to K.I.'s reputation as a deadly shooter in the city. Like the Chicago version of Felicia Snoop Pearson, the deadly classic character from the early 2000s TV show The Wire.
Understand what I mean by recoil?
Yeah, the kickback. I'm with you.
That's right.
27 caliber, huh?
Yeah, not large ballistically, but for driving nails, it's enough. Any more than that, you'd add to the recoil.
Man, shit. I seen no tiny-ass 22 wearing those, drop the nigga plenty of days, man. Motherfuckers get up, man, you like a pinball, whip your ass up. Big joints, though, big joints, man, just break a bone, you just say, fuck it.
Call Shaq, boy, you let the back blow these bobber niggas like Osama.
Cray, my young nigga.
K.I., my young killer. A lot of niggas be rapping, but we the ones tote guns, nigga.
These EBT ass niggas right here, man. Yeah. Squad shit, bitch.
I'm from STL, but I be posted on EDT, bitch.
Hey, the real is back, man. You already know free C-ball. Squad.
Lil B. Shout out Lil B. This Lil B. You come from school or something? Where you going, bro?
Lil B robbing me, but this Lil B on phone to me up that bitch. And if you ask me, am I a little bit catch my drift? Not all the way.
I think Lil B was slow, folk. I ain't gonna lie. I think he had like a little. He was one of them that they didn't want to play with. Where he was to a point where like Lil B was one of them. Something happened, you could tell if he did it or not by the type of way it happened. Get shot in their face 7 times, chest 3 times. You damn, was that Lil B?
Lil B, y'all say he took $3,000, $4,000 from y'all. And I called Lil B on the phone like, Lil B, they accused you of stealing some money. He came over there with that P89. Everybody had to change heart. Oh, no, Lil B, swipe tweaking, man. We found it. Y'all ain't find shit, you know, because Lil B had the money spending it the next day.
After losing 2 of his friends back-to-back, T.Roy felt like it was time for him to put in work. He had been in the streets his entire life due to the environment that he was raised in, but he had never killed anyone before. But that would all change on the afternoon of December 3rd of 2011. At about 4 p.m., 16-year-old Dale Fisher, aka Squirrel, was walking to the store with his friend on 62nd and South St. Lawrence. Then a silver 2-door vehicle pulled up. A gunman leaned out the window and started firing multiple shots. Dale was hit multiple times in his chest. His friend remained unharmed, but Dale would succumb to his wounds. It's been reports up to 12 shots. His family would say that they didn't understand why this happened, because Dale wasn't a gang member at all. He was a kid that was known at the local youth center and was a part of the anti-violence program. But pictures as well as videos would surface of Dale throwing up gang signs. He once lived in the 63rd area, but his family moved away. Although he would often return to hang out with his friends that he grew up with, Dale was cool with STL-EBT as well as Gyro City. He's also the little brother of the person who's been rumored to be the one who really killed O.D. Perry, named STL Man. T.Roy was well aware of Dale's family ties, and this may have been the reason that he was targeted. But T.Roy wasn't alone. It's said that he was with another teenager named Abir Sardin from the 600 set, an affiliate of Oblock, but the casualties would continue to add up on both sides, because on February 16, 2012 at about 6:45 p.m., 19-year-old Oblock member T.Roy Liggins was leaving out of a convenience store near the 6400 block of South King Drive, but as soon as he stepped outside, he was shot in the head. But nobody walked up on him, and it wasn't a drive-by. STL-EBT would take credit for the murder online, taunting Oblock and making fun of T.Roy. K.I. would tweet about Boss Trail using a laser beam from across the street to shoot T.Roy, the same gun with a laser beam that was featured on the Little J and FBG Duck song called Critical. T.Roy was killed around the same time that King Von was being released from juvenile boot camp, but when he got out, he was actually trying to change and didn't run back to the streets immediately. While he was locked up, he got his GED, and upon his release, he enrolled in South Suburban College in South Holland, Illinois.
How much schooling did you get under your belt?
I got locked up my junior year of high school, you see what I'm saying? But I got my GED while I was locked up in boot camp. They let you get I went to school and that got the GED. Now while I was out, I got out of boot camp, I went to community college. I went to South Suburban, little community college out there in Chicago and shit, South Suburbs. So I didn't last that long, because I got to get caught up in the streets, got back locked up, but I did like a few classes and that shit. So then I got some college credits.
But financial issues as well as the temptations of the streets was just too much for him to overcome. Vaughn was back active with T.Roy, and they were in traffic on a hunt searching for ops. And that's exactly what they would find on April 28th of 2012 at about 9 p.m. They spotted 21-year-old Marlon Monroe, aka Doc. He had just been released from jail not too long ago and was actually trying to make a change in his life. He was in the process of getting his painter's license, and that's exactly what he was doing on that night, painting a home for his aunt. He was in the heart of 63rd Territory, headed to the store to get something to drink. But before Marlon could walk in, somebody drove by and sprayed bullets in his direction. He was hit one time in the chest and stumbled to some tall weeds that were nearby. The police would eventually respond to the calls of shots fired in the area, but when they came to investigate the scene, they never found Marlon Monroe. The tall weeds that he fell in hid his body from the detectives that were nearby. He wouldn't be found until hours later, when his younger cousin Modell McKimbry happened to be walking through the area and spotted him. Doc was affiliated with Gyro City STL-EBT. Members of the gang would take to social media to pay their respects to Doc, as well as threatening to kill the people they felt were responsible, King Von and T.Roy. But they weren't done applying pressure to their ops. In the early morning hours of August 8, 2012 at about 3:30 p.m., 28-year-old Terrell Joshua, aka Dirty Rail, was found shot to death on a sidewalk in the first block of East 56th Street in the Washington Park neighborhood. Rail had sustained multiple shots, and by the time the police and the ambulance arrived, he had already passed away. He was in Chicago visiting family because he had actually moved away from the area years ago. He was living in Peoria, Illinois, about 2 hours away from the city, but it's been reported that he did have some gang ties and was down with Gyro City, who was clicked up with STL. Around the time that Rail was murdered was the exact same time that King Von and T.Roy were online tweeting actively, talking about murdering people and looking for ops, as well as making fun of somebody who remained nameless. But their tweets coincided with the aftermath of Rail's death, but they wouldn't be laughing online for long. And less than 24 hours later, King Von would have a life-changing experience, because later that same day at about 11:30 p.m., King Von was getting ready to celebrate his birthday at midnight. He was with one of his best friends from Oblock, 19-year-old Tony Dunn, aka White White. They were walking to a store near East 63rd and South Martin Luther King Drive. Vaughn went into the store to buy a few items, while White waited outside, but then he heard gunshots going off, and when he ran outside, that's where he found his friend White laying on the sidewalk. He had been shot multiple times. There were police officers nearby who witnessed the entire thing, and ended up exchanging gunfire with the shooter, a man named Deron Williams, aka 50 Shots from Gyro City. He ended up being captured by police, but it's also said that he wasn't alone, and that it was another hated rival of Oblock that was with him when White got murdered. The name was Marvell Williams, aka FBG Wooski. Gyro City and STL would celebrate their quick get back on Oblock while making jokes about White's death, and STL EBT wasn't done sliding. By this time, they had created a subset within the gang called Taekwon World. It was named in the honor of KI's friend, 13-year-old Taekwon Tyler, who was killed at a house party in June of 2012 after being caught in the middle of crossfire from members of his own gang. At first, members of Taekwon World weren't taken serious due to their young age, but Oblock would soon realize that they really were becoming a problem. It's said that on October 9th of 2012, Taekwon World member KI and FBG Wooski went to Oblock and started shooting into the gates indiscriminately. This would lead to King Von being shot in the leg. He would tweet about it and acknowledge KI as the one who shot him. He had a very interesting relationship with his female rival. One minute they could be exchanging messages flirting, then threatening to murder one another all within the same conversation. But T.Roy wasn't trying to flirt at all and posted on social media that he was gonna kill KI. It said that her shooting up Oblock was retaliation for what happened earlier that morning, after King Von and T.Roy shot up Dunbar High School. Their friend Leonard Anderson, aka L.A. Capone, was a student there. He was a well-known rapper in Chicago and down with the Oblock affiliate Set 600. It said that the school was once a stronghold for BDs, but had been taken over by gangster disciples. So King Von decided to send a message to the GDs by shooting up the school, which led to KI shooting at them. But it only took a few days for T.Roy and Von to retaliate, because at about 9:30 p.m. on October 13th of 2012, 17-year-old Modell McHenry was walking in the 6300 block of South Rhodes Avenue with his 18-year-old cousin Miles Turner. They were headed to go see Modell's female friend, but along the way they were ambushed by two gunmen who started shooting at Modell. His cousin Miles tried to shield him from the bullets, and he was hit as well. Despite trying to selflessly protect his cousin, he couldn't shield him from all of the bullets, and Modell would ultimately pass away, and he would be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Modell's family would state that he wasn't a part of a gang, so there was no reason for him to be targeted, but pictures and videos would show that he at least had some type of affiliation with STL EBT. There were even photos of him holding guns. King Von and T.Roy would be identified as the shooters, but witnesses were too scared of retaliation to step forward. King Von basically made a Twitter confession about his involvement in Modell's murder, making numerous tweets about him, taunting his family and friends. Just 2 weeks later, King Von was lurking for ops once again. On October 30th, 2012 at about 9 a.m., 23-year-old Derek Johnson was walking on the 6200 block of South Eberhard Avenue. It said that he was headed to a spot so he could meet up with a person and sell him some weed. But when he arrived, he was greeted by King Von, L.A. Capone, and Jerome Wood, aka J Money, another Oblock member. Reports say that he was stood over by the three teenagers and shot up to 16 times. But this wasn't just a gang-related murder. It's also said that it was personal in nature, due to the fact that P5 allegedly had a relationship with J Money's baby mama, something that he would tweet about after P5's death. King Von would also go online and take credit for his part in the murder. Afterwards, he tweeted out the early bird gets the worm, referencing the fact that the murder took place relatively early in the morning. P5 would become one of King Von's most well-known murders, due to the fact that he said his name just as much as he said Tuka or anyone else, even years after he was killed.
They want to know if you do a feature with Modell, P5, Malcolm. You know them? Nah. Alright, never mind. He already told us about Tuka. He said Tuka one of his favorites to work with. They
Yeah.
want to know about the Gleesh Place video.
Oh, Gleesh Place coming soon. And I do a feature with all them niggas. Tell them just send them money.
They caught him. But wait till we catch a motherfucker.
Do you guys feel that it was somebody from the other side that may have did it, or you think it was like a random act of violence just in the city of Chicago?
We know who did it, man. All these niggas in the city did it, man.
Okay.
The niggas that hate us. But they ain't gonna step outside them gates though. Cause they know. King Von. We gonna say his name. King Von.
A week later, King Von would be tweeting out his thoughts on the 2012 presidential election and how even if Obama won, he was going to continue to kill, and he would keep that promise along with T.Roy. On November 7th of 2012, they would tweet about being in traffic looking for ops, and less than 24 hours later, a top member of STL-EBT would be dead. In the early morning hours of November 8th, 2012 at about 6:45 a.m., 17-year-old Rodney Stewart, aka Boss Trail, would be found shot in the back of the head in an alley. It happened in the Wrightwood neighborhood in the 2600 block of West 83rd Street. The story goes that Boss Trail was making an attempt to get out of the streets by leaving Chicago and moving to Iowa. But leading up to his departure, he had been spending a lot of time at his ex-girlfriend's house who lived in the Wrightwood neighborhood, and that's who he was headed to see on that cold November morning. But instead of seeing his girlfriend, he was met by 3 members of Oblock: T.Roy, King Von, and J Money. It's uncertainty surrounding who exactly pulled the trigger on Boss Trail, but the popular theory is that all 3 of these individuals were present at the time of the shooting. The second theory is that it had absolutely nothing to do with Oblock, and that it was really the brother of his ex-girlfriend. It's said that while Boss Trail was staying at his sister's house, he stole one of his guns and ran off. Trail felt disrespected by what her brother had did, so he texted his ex-girlfriend that early November 8th morning. He told her that I'm coming to get my gun, and if they don't have it, they gon' die. So when Boss Trail came to their neighborhood, somebody was already waiting for him, but Oblock would take full responsibility for the murder online. They tweeted out dudes ain't dying on time, due to the fact that Boss Trail didn't pass away on the scene and wouldn't die until later on that night. It's well known that Boss Trail shot and killed beloved Oblock member T.Roy Liggins, so that definitely would have made him a top target for King Von and T.Roy. The death of Boss Trail also raised the hatred between King Von and K.I. because of how close she was to Trail. Oblock would strike again just 11 days later, but the next victim of V.Roy wouldn't be from 63rd. On the night of November 20th of 2012, at about 8:30 p.m., 32-year-old James Holman, aka Little James, would be hanging out on the 6000 block of South Michigan Avenue, chilling outside of his apartment building with some friends. Then 4 men wearing hoodies walked up on him and started firing shots. Little James was hit multiple times at point-blank range in the chest, and less than an hour later he would be pronounced dead at the hospital. He was a member of a gangster disciple set called Mob, whose territory is from 56 to Michigan Avenue. They had issues with Oblock due to their ties with STL-EBT, as well as their ongoing deadly beef with Oblock affiliate 600. Within 30 minutes of Little James's death, King Von was already tweeting out how he be whacking GDs, even admitting to killing 5 people and shooting 10. King Von was listed as a suspect due to him fitting the description given to police by witnesses, but there are also rumors that any one of the 4 men could have been the gunman. It's alleged that it's between Bite Down 600, Blast His Ass 600, and M-Thing from Oblock, but there was never any arrest made in regards to this case. But just 2 days later, King Von would be arrested for unlawful use of a firearm. He would receive over a year in jail, but in the meantime, T.Roy would be the one holding down the trenches of Oblock. During their friendship, whenever either one of them were locked up, whoever was free would wear shirts with their name on it that said Free T.Roy or Free King Von. But he didn't catch his next victim walking to the store or standing in front of some apartment buildings. He caught him on the E-way. It was around 1 a.m. on June 9th of 2013 when 27-year-old Frederick Taylor, aka Stunner, was driving on the Dan Ryan Expressway with 2 passengers. They were going south near 71st Street when a vehicle pulled alongside of them and started opening fire. A woman in the vehicle was hit in the chest but survived. The other passenger wasn't hit at all. but Stunner was hit multiple times and died at the scene. Although most of T.Roy's victims would be direct rivals of Oblock, this situation was different. He was from a gang called TTB, or Trained to Blow, also known as FOA, Family Overall. They hail from an area called the Low End on the north side of Washington Park. Most of its members hail from the housing projects on Lake Park Avenue between 39th and 40th, and even though they didn't have any direct beef with Parkway Gardens, they were cool with some of Oblock's top opposition like STL, EBT, and Gyro City, as well as 051. They did have some back and forth with Oblock members on social media, making fun of some of their people who passed away like OD Perry and T.Roy. They were also going at Oblock affiliates Lil Durk and Lamron, as well as Chief Keef and GBE. It's believed that who they were associated with, along with the disrespect on social media, led to real-life retaliation from Oblock. Two names began to circulate as who was responsible for the Brazen Expressway shooting: T.Roy and a man named Boss Money from Oblock. Members of TTB would implicate them on social media as well, tweeting at T.Roy saying that they were gonna burn his face when they find him, as well as making fun of his height by saying that once he's dead, they're gonna have to get a little kid casket. It's also rumored that Boss Money had a personal beef with Stunner, which led to his shooting and his death. Either way, T.Roy was definitely involved, but the deadly cycle of retaliation and revenge affected him too, and he was about to lose another close friend, because on Labor Day of 2013, 21-year-old Jerome Wood was in the 6600 block of South Rhodes Avenue. He was helping out a girl that he originally knew from Oblock load clothes into her car. He had known her for over 10 years, so even though she moved to a different neighborhood, he was still willing to help. But the girl that he thought was his friend was really working with his enemies. She dropped J Money's location to members of STL EBT, in particular Lil B and KI. It said that while J Money was loading the laundry in the car, Lil B and KI came out of a gangway and started shooting at him. J Money was hit one time in the torso and fell to the ground. He tried to get up, but he fell again. Lil B and KI walked up and stood over him, then shot him numerous times. The mother of one of J Money's kids would later speak on the situation, talking about how he got set up and how KI and Lil B did him dirty.
And that shit 24/8, you know, man, that shit, you know, ATM Money Gang, Glory Boys, you know, man, you know how we rockin', man, you know, Weak City, Oblock, man, you know, Line Ryan,
Free
my
gas.
yeah, that, you know, man, we just be, man, folks, free phone them, man, oh God, when phone them get out, it's cracking, folks, y'all, man, y'all know how we rock, man, y'all know how we rock, we city, keep it real, man. Shout out to my cousin.
Said you never backdoored nobody from 63rd. It was rumors around Chicago, but I guess internet shit. They said you backdoored your baby daddy. So how do you feel when you see look shit like that on the internet? Like, yeah, you backdoored J Money. Like, how do you feel with that being your baby daddy and you love him so much?
When they first started saying that, y'all, honestly, when they first started saying that shit, I'm spazzing. What? Oh, y'all got me f***ed up. He won't with me. Ooh, this and that. But now it's like I hear it and I be like, y'all know the back end story about that. He was never with me. He was never at my house. He was with his homies and his fake ass female best friend. I ain't gonna disclose her name. But yeah, her too. And he got killed at her house trying to help this take her laundry in, and she shut the door on him in the middle, clapping my baby daddy. And a lot of shit. I ain't gonna.
J Money was going over there to visit his BM. And next thing you know, the ops knew exactly when he was coming, and Prince Dre was in the car. Dre was in the car, and I saw Dre, bro, cause they did it right in front of them. And mind you, he probably was terrified, cause like they could have looked at the car, tried to come. But yeah, they saw J Money, I don't know, but they saw what they saw, bro.
Shortly after the death of J Money, they would both tweet out about killing people. KI saying that she loves to shoot people in the head, and Lil B talking about standing over his ops. The disrespect made Oblock and T.Roy want Lil B and KI dead even more. T.Roy was known for being relentless when it came to hunting down his opposition, but sometimes that would come at the expense of an innocent bystander. On September 17, 2013 at around 8:45 a.m., 67-year-old Billy Sargent was sitting at a bus shelter near 61st and King Drive, an area known for being a border for rivaling gangs. some affiliated with Oblock and some opposition. T.Roy was up early this morning cruising around with his gun and he had murder on his mind. That's when he saw K.I. and started spraying the vicinity she was in with bullets. K.I. was able to escape the hail of bullets, but Billy Sargent got caught in the crossfire. He was hit multiple times and was taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. He was well known in the neighborhood and had a routine of sitting around the bus stop with his friends drinking coffee, talking sports and politics. The local residents had nothing but great things to say about Billy Sargent, but they also had something to say about the senseless violence in their community. A friend of Billy Sargent's talked about how he couldn't even take his grandkids to the park anymore.
He was the last person on earth that should ever get shot for sitting on the corner. All the old gangsters boys, they knew him. This was somebody that was just, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a shame, man. Oh, horrible, man. Listen, do you know right now, I have seen yellow tape in this neighborhood, my kids going to the park at least 15 to 20 times this summer. I'm saying, I don't want to cut my roots, but when I bring my grandkids down here to go in the park.
Witnesses described the shooter in the Billy Sargent murder as no older than 14 years old. It's said that T.Roy's small stature made the witnesses believe that it was just a kid who committed the crime. That same day, K.I. tweeted about people shooting at her and missing, and it's believed that she was talking about T.Roy. Although he would be released, it also seems like the police wanted to bring him in to question him about the murder of Billy Sargent. But once again, T.Roy would have to deal with the other side of being a part of a gang war, because he would lose another friend. At 6 p.m. on September 26 of 2013, 600 member and Oblock affiliate L.A. Capone would be leaving the recording studio. He walked down the alley in the back of the building so he could go meet his ride. Near 70th and Stony Island Avenue, as he was waiting for his ride, two gunmen appeared from the alley. They immediately started shooting at L.A. Capone, hitting him twice, one time in the lower back and one time in the right thigh. It's been said that when the ambulance arrived, L.A. Capone was alert and talking to the paramedics, but by 8:30 he would be pronounced dead at the hospital, and the word would spread fast. Along with Chief Keef and Lil Durk, L.A. Capone was a rising star on the Chicago rap scene. He started to get recognition when he dropped the song Play for Keeps featuring Rondo No. 9. It would later be revealed that the people responsible were not only rivals to 600, but also Lamron and Oblock. Their beef was lesser known than the one that Oblock had going on with STL EBT, but it wasn't any less dangerous, and the murders were extremely brutal in nature. And just like Oblock, they were known for having shooters too.
Cause LA kind of really did have a toll on Von. I ain't even gonna lie. Like Von really did. Like that was like one of Von's close homies. He didn't get folks tatted on him for no reason. Like he actually did look at LA like that's my real little brother. And he was behind his music. Like he knew folk one line and no rap, so he was just he was kind of emotional after that shit. Like and folk, he one of them niggas folk when shit happened to the guys like he booked, he be feeling like it's his fault. Like if I was out that shit would have never happened.
The set responsible was also an affiliate of STL, 051 Young Money. It said that the shooters were 051 Little Mick, 051 Rockhead, and the getaway driver was Miko from Met Boys 051. FBG Wooski, one of the top rivals to Oblock, even tweeted out to L.A. Capone about him leaving out of the studio. It's believed that he may have used this information of knowing where L.A. Capone liked to record and passed it to 051 members. And even though they may not have pulled the trigger, it didn't stop members of STL, EBT, and Gyro City from making fun of L.A. Capone. And he was also very close to Lil Durk, who would mourn the loss of his friend, especially since he made fun of Tuka in his most popular song, Play for Keeps. Duck told 600 to keep their heads up. This led to T.Roy being back on the hunt for anybody who was against Oblock or its affiliates. On November 1st of 2013, he spotted K.I. in the 6300 block of South Vernon Avenue. He got on her heels and tried to gun her down, but just like last time, he ended up hitting an innocent bystander. STL member FBG Dutchie tweeted that day too. about Oblock coming through their neighborhood and shooting innocent people. This time they shot a drug addict. K.I. posted about T.Roy as well and said that if he came over to South Vernon again, he was a dead man. In January of 2014, T.Roy would be locked up once again due to a warrant, but he would be out by mid-February, the same time frame that King Von was set for release as well. Boss Top of Oblock would tweet out how happy he was about having his two young shooters back, and once they got back together, they lived up to their reputation as murder twins. Because on March 25th of 2014, 19-year-old Mark Campbell, aka Little Mark of 051, would drop one of the most disrespectful songs in Chicago drill history. It was called No Competition, a response to Lil Durk's song called Competition, in which he dissed members of 051 and other rivals. Little Mark would return the favor by dissing 600, Lamron, and Oblock, but he would do it in a much more disrespectful way. The day that he dropped the song, he also got a FaceTime from Lil Reese, asking him where he was at and what he been on, even though Lil Reese was down with Lamron and Oblock, and obviously an enemy of Lil Mark. Reese would get the nickname the Chirac Grim Reaper from none other than DJ Academics.
It's your boy DJ Academics and Chicago rapper Lil Mark, 3 days after shooting a diss video to OTF, was shot in the head and killed at a bus stop. In the video, or the diss video, you can see Lil Mark talking to Lil Reese on FaceTime, and then the clip ends up being on the diss video.
It's said that the popularity of Lil Mark's song rivaled that of Lil JoJo, who released the song BDK in 2012, and it would ultimately become a hit. Even though it openly advocated to kill BDs, this would result in Lil JoJo being shot and killed not too long after its release. But ultimately, Lil Mark would meet the same tragic fate as JoJo. What makes his story eerily ironic is the fact that he's the brother of Shondell Gregory, aka Tuka, whose death played a major role in the violence escalating between Oblock and STL Gyro City. He would often shout out his brother Tuka on his songs. But just 2.5 years later, his life would come to an end under similar circumstances like his brother. Because on March 28th of 2014, 20-year-old Lil Mark was sitting at the bus stop at around 1:30 p.m. on the 300 block of East 51st Street, when out of nowhere a silver van pulled up. A man got out of the vehicle with an extended clip and began to fire multiple shots, striking Lil Mark in the head numerous times. He was pronounced dead at the scene, and Oblock, as well as their affiliates 600 and THF, or Trigger Happy Family, would all celebrate Lil Mark's demise. They would even return to the murder scene just hours later, laughing at Lil Mark, calling him the Tuka of 51st, making fun of him and his fallen brother. One of 051's most hated ops, Lamron, would even go to the death site of Lil Mark. Lil Durk would say that it was a very famous place.
Hey, this bus stop right here though, this a real famous place, you hear me? This is a real famous place, B. Hey, this bus stop, this is a real famous place, B. I ain't gonna lie to you, know what I'm saying? Free my nigga T.
Call that boy right by that bus, this is last stop. Gangsta boy coming to court, now I'm fed up. Pick your mans up.
It's a 2-51st.
Body down. I'm right here kicking a little Mark dirty out.
Damn.
Marky.
While Oblock and its affiliates celebrated, 051 let it be known that they were out lurking for revenge, especially one of their most feared shooters, 051 Melly. But the very next day after Lil Mark's death, Oblock will get the opportunity to celebrate the death of another one of their top ops, Lil B from STL EBT. He was a major problem for Oblock, killing beloved members such as Platoon and J Money, as well as numerous other shootings and alleged murders. Some people even call him and K.I. the STL version of King Von and T.Roy, except he was possibly even more dangerous.
Rasan got popped one time for real. We standing out there, bro. We standing out there probably like not even 10 minutes. Shorty them hit the corner, get the point. Lil B, he trying to get out of there. Folks tripped me though. We got into it and everything, but then he like, boy, I'm hit. Cause at the time, I ain't know folks was hit. All I know is came through blowing, we running, folks tripped me. Lil B He didn't even go to the hospital right away on Shondell. He didn't go to the hospital until like an hour, 2 hours later. Because folks went and got wild. He went and shot the Parkway up on 62nd first. Then he went and shot 600, and then he went and shot up Prairie, first grade. That's when he called C-Day. It was C-Day, McAdoo, Boodoo Rooski, and somebody else. Lil B catch him coming about that bitch, tear that bitch down.
On March 29th, 2014, just before 9 a.m., 2 Chicago police officers stated that they seen a hand-to-hand drug transaction being made on the 6200 block of South Eberhard. They claimed that it was Lil B, and after they broke up the drug deal, he began to run from them. They chased him through gangways all the way to 67th and Rhodes, and once they had him cornered, they claimed that he went for his pistol, and they were forced to open fire. But there was allegedly up to 100 witnesses who said that the police's story was fabricated and that Lil B was murdered in cold blood. Not to mention that the police officer's story didn't really line up. They stated that they observed him reaching for his waistband, but he was shot 7 times in his back. The death of Lil B would highlight another battle going on in the city of Chicago between the inner city black community and the Chicago PD.
Fired fatal shots. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Williams. My Martinez is off. It happened in the Woodlawn neighborhood. Police say they were chasing a suspected drug dealer. Let's go right to CBS 2's Suzanne Lemio live from the police department's area central headquarters with more on this developing story. Suzanne?
Jim, detectives here and the Independent Police Review Authority are now investigating this shooting. A massive police presence between Eberhard and Rhodes on 63rd. Patrol cars, blue lights flashing after a police-involved shooting.
He got shot 7 times on Rhodes, right there by the police.
Friends say 19-year-old Rasan Shah had just left them to get something to eat.
He was running through the alley with no gun or nothing, because he just left us, so we know he ain't had no gun. The police shot him unjustified. Too many times in his back. He ain't do nothing, man.
Chicago Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 7 spokesperson Pat Camden says Shah was caught by police in the middle of a drug deal. They went after him. Camden says Shah pointed a gun at police.
The officer defends himself, shoots the offender. We did recover a .40 caliber Glock with an extended clip.
Chaos erupts after the shooting. An angry mob gathers.
The rumor starts to spread that he didn't have a gun, the police shot him for no reason. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you're carrying a
And even though they weren't directly responsible for his death, his enemies still made a mockery of his murder online, as social media had become the perfect place to dish your dead ops for the entire world to see. One person who was absolutely devastated by the loss was K.I. She was very close to Lil B, and at his funeral she completely broke down. K.I. vowed to take her pain out on their enemies when she would murder an affiliate of Oblock and a member of Glory Boys Entertainment by Chief Keef, his cousin Mario Hess, aka Blood Money, and get revenge in Lil B's name. He had just signed a deal with Interscope Records and was making plans to relocate to California with his cousin Chief Keef. But on April 9th of 2014, at around 9:30 p.m., Blood Money was chilling in front of his crib with his cousin on the 5600 block of South Elizabeth Street when a gunman appeared out of the darkness and started to fire shots at Blood Money and his cousin. He was hit in the chest and his cousin took a shot to the stomach. His cousin would ultimately survive being shot, but 30-year-old Mario Hess would be pronounced dead just an hour later at the hospital. Chief Keef would pay homage to his cousin, and others that knew him would pay their respects online as well. K.I. from Taekwon World and STL EBT would take full credit for the shooting, and the one that murdered Blood Money. But just 48 hours later, K.I. would become another victim of V.Roy. K.I. and King Von had always shared a very interesting relationship. Some would say it was more like a deadly obsession, with both of them shooting at each other on numerous occasions. For years, they were intertwined with one another in a deadly social media dance that blurred the lines between flirtation and murder. K.I. knew that she was a big target of Oblock, but she loved the danger. But unfortunately, she would become a little too overconfident and make a very fatal mistake. In the early morning hours of April 11th of 2014, K.I. would make a very dark tweet by saying that in the end, we all die. Maybe she couldn't sleep because it was her good friend's Boss Trail's birthday, and she was up thinking about all of the friends that she lost. STL EBT was celebrating Boss Trail Day, and after the party, K.I. would tweet out her location, letting everybody know where she was at, including her ops. And at about 3:30 p.m., 17-year-old K.I. was walking on the 6400 block of South Eberhard Avenue with her friend. Witnesses stated that they seen a man hop out of a vehicle with a weapon and begin to lurk towards the direction of K.I. and her friend. The gunman opened fire and the friend was shot in the leg. K.I. was hit multiple times in the chest and in her neck. She was pronounced dead 2 hours later at the hospital. This was a big deal for Oblock. Ever since the death of O.D. Perry, they had been trying to get at K.I., and now they finally accomplished their mission. King Von would make multiple tweets about murdering K.I., even one about having to kill a pretty op. T.Roy would also jump in to celebrate the death of K.I., but his friend King Von wouldn't be out on the streets for too much longer because he would ultimately be facing murder charges. Not behind the death of K.I., it was a 19-year-old man named Malcolm Stuckey. All throughout the month of May, King Von had been tweeting out his desperate need to kill a op and how he had new guns that he wanted to try out. On May 29th of 2014, King Von was attending a party on the 5700 block of South LaSalle Street. While he was there, he spotted some rival gang members, and the person who was throwing the party told him don't start nothing. Von assured her that he wasn't there to cause any issues, but walked outside to make a phone call to somebody from Oblock named Big Mike, who ironically was the brother of one of his top ops, FBG Wooski. Once Mike arrived, they waited in the alley for the rival gang members to finally come outside. According to witnesses, as King Von was running after the men shooting at him, he kept asking them, "Why are you running?" All three men were shot but survived their injuries, but unfortunately there was an innocent bystander who was shot and killed during the process. Malcolm Stuckey, who was a college student, a college basketball player who was working at a museum, happened to be outside during the shooting and was caught in the crossfire and would ultimately be struck in the head. It would take 2 months for the police to name a shooter, but in July of 2014, King Von and Big Mike would be arrested on murder charges. Von would later say that Big Mike turned against him and became a witness for the prosecution.
What did you say that they considered snitching? Because everybody started trying to say you was a snitch from the interrogation
They always
shit.
gonna say you a snitch when you in there telling them people something that you really ain't supposed to be telling them. I already knew what was going on. Y'all trying to get him off the hook, put me on the hook.
So in the interrogation room, you told them you ain't never implicated Von's name. You was just telling them that you did it.
No, I did say his name. I did say he was with me. I ain't say he shot no motherfucker. I said I did.
But you just, by telling him he was with you, you kind of just put him in it.
Right. That's considered snitching. You feel me? That's considered snitching.
King Von would be locked up for the next 3 years behind this situation, leaving T.Roy to hold down the V.Roy name all alone. During his incarceration, T.Roy stayed in constant contact with Von and would send him money whenever he could to make sure that Von was straight. It seemed like after King Von got locked up that T.Roy's murder spree stopped, or at least the ones that we know about that were reported on Twitter. But there were rumors of his involvement in the murder of a very prominent member of Gyro City, named Marshawn Jackson, aka Twink. He was one half of a duo known as the Gyro City Splash Brothers, along with Christopher Hughes, aka Dome. They were two of the most well-known shooters from Gyro City and was known to rain down bullets on 600 and O-Block. Dome even got the word 600K tattooed on his neck, and is said to be the killer of one of the founders of 600, Devon Varner, aka D-Thang. Twink was just as vicious and was known for having bodies under his belt as well. Together they were unstoppable as a duo. Twink was a little older and had been putting in work in the streets for a long time, so he had a lot of connections. It's said that he would often try to flip BDs to GD, but this would also make him susceptible to being backdoored, and that's exactly what would happen. It's said that he was one of the first people to get hit leaving the Cook County Jail, being shot 16 times, but miraculously surviving. This happened in early 2016, but it didn't keep him away from the streets, because just 6 months later, witness descriptions say that it was a short man with dreadlocks who pulled the trigger. Some say that T.Roy was just present but didn't pull the trigger, and that it was actually a man named Jigs from O-Block/Baby Stretch Gang. But either way, T.Roy's name was still connected with a murder, adding to his street lore and his deadly reputation. Despite his small stature, T.Roy was known for being fierce in the streets. He could even be compared to Joe Pesci's character in the classic 1995 Martin Scorsese film Casino starring Robert De Niro. Joe Pesci played the role of Nicky Santora, who was based off of the mobster Anthony Spilantro, who stood only 5'2" but had a very violent reputation and was known for being extremely deadly. T.Roy enjoyed his reputation as a killer, and his rivals knew that he was quick with the gun, something that he would express on Instagram Live.
Up on me, I will shoot you. No problem. I will fucking shoot you. Yes, I will. So if you see me and ain't no shit, leave me the alone. Cause I stay with my savages. Well, I'm solo right now, but I got one of my savages. But leave me the alone. Don't beat it down. Cause you don't know if I was on your ass, cause I ain't gonna get the you know, looking at you and none of that shit. I'm just gonna scorn these dumb ass. Scorn.
Shit, we solution. I ain't money too much, spending too much. If you try to
Soon T.Roy would have even more reason to get back active when it came to looking for members of STL-EBT, because he was about to lose another one of his close friends from Oblock, 23-year-old Antron Young, aka Big A. The story goes, in the early morning hours of December 4th of 2016, at around 3 a.m., Big A was awakened by a young member of Oblock who just came from Sammy's Grill restaurant across the street and said that he seen two members of STL-EBT. Big A questioned the boy to make sure that it was really their ops from 63rd, and the boy told him that he was absolutely sure that they were. Big A grabbed his gun and headed directly to the restaurant, with the young boy who gave him the information trailing directly behind him. As soon as Big A walked in the restaurant, he began to press the two men that he thought were from STL-EBT. He said, "Y'all from 63rd," all while reaching for his gun. But before he could say another word, one of the men pulled out their weapon and shot Big A directly in the face. One of the men then walked over to Big A, picked up the weapon that he was about to use, then stood over him and shot him multiple times. The young boy that Big A was with had already ran out of the restaurant. He went across the street to tell other members of Oblock what had just happened to Big A. As the two men tried to run out of the restaurant, members of Oblock opened fire on them, and a shootout ensued. Both men would be hit multiple times, but would ultimately survive their injuries. Some say that this was just a case of mistaken identity, and the two men that Big A thought were from STL were really just two civilians. But there are rumors that the two men were really from 63rd, and that it may have even been revenge for the killing of K.I., due to the belief that Big A was present during her murder, something that he would lean into by changing his name on Twitter from Big A to Big A-ski or Ask K.I. It was even speculation on the internet that the man who actually pulled the trigger was none other than K.I.'s brother George Barnes, aka G.I. Joe. However the situation went down, it still added to Oblock and T.Roy's hatred for everything that 63rd stood for. In the meantime, T.Roy would focus on keeping his brother's spirits up, the other half of V.Roy. Even when Von was locked up, him and T.Roy would talk often, and T.Roy would send him whatever money that he could to make sure Von had everything he needed in jail. But soon the deadly dynamic duo known as V.Roy would be no more, and T.Roy would meet the same fate that he had dealt to so many others, because on Valentine's Day of 2017, T.Roy was on East 71st Street in an area known as Paxtown. It said that he was out lurking for somebody who had become a top target for Oblock, Terry Berry, aka TB in the Cut, or Biko. He was a member of STL-EBT, as well as Taekwon World, the gang that was started by Jakira K.I. Barnes. TB started out as a good kid making good grades in school, but after his friend Tutu from Gyro City was murdered in 2011, he turned to the streets. Along with his best friend Sharad Rhyme, aka Poppy, they had become two of the most prominent members of Taekwon World, and TB would become a known shooter. They would even release a diss song called Taekwon Way that would get millions of views on YouTube, where they talked about dead members from Oblock and 600. It said that this is why T.Roy was willing to go to a different territory in order to hunt for TB. Even though TB was from STL-EBT, he lived in the Paxtown area. His dad, who went by the name of Big TB, was well known in that neighborhood until he was murdered in the mid-90s before TB was born, allegedly by a member of No Limit named G Bull. TB would often post himself on social media chilling in the Paxtown area and standing in front of one store in particular. It said that T.Roy had been out all morning looking for TB and allegedly even shot at him but missed. Just before noon on that Valentine's Day in 2017, T.Roy would head to the store that TB was known to frequent. He met up with a man who was a part of the oblock affiliate THF. While they were walking in the store, the man asked T.Roy what he was on in Paxtown, and they continued to make small talk while inside. T.Roy asked the cashier could he use his charger for his phone. Then he remembered that he needed turkey bacon and they headed back over to the refrigerator aisle. But T.Roy was completely unaware that the man that he had been searching for was now on his trail. And he wasn't alone. He was with an STL member named DeAndre Wallace, aka Can't Get Right, or Man. It's also said that another member of STL EBT was the one who got the drop on T.Roy, the brother of FBG Duck, FBG Brick. Can't Get Right would walk in the store first, acting as a decoy for TB, who was following behind. Can't Get Right walked towards T.Roy and said, "What's up?" Then TB appeared with a revolver and shot him one time in the chest. The man that T.Roy was with ran out of the store, and after they shot T.Roy, Can't Get Right and TB ran as well. Despite the fact that he had just been shot, T.Roy was still worried about catching a charge and took out his gun from his waistband and threw it under the counter so the police couldn't find it. His acquaintance came back and tried to help T.Roy along with the cashier, but without any medical training, it didn't help. He was left laying on the floor bleeding out and would be pronounced dead at the hospital shortly after. The news of T.Roy's death would spread fast, and Oblock would mourn the loss of one of its most prolific members. Although it wasn't a big deal at all for their rivals over on 63rd, FBG Duck would go on Instagram Live and say that T.Roy's death wasn't that important because he hadn't even heard about it. And the theory that it was his brother FBG Brick who gave up T.Roy's location would gain momentum as well, when he took a picture shortly after T.Roy's death with TB and Can't Get Right, who had on the exact same clothes as they had on the surveillance footage during T.Roy's murder. He could also be heard on FBG Duck's Live saying that he was happy that they finally got T.Roy.
Look for them on here going crazy. They so happy. It's been funny as hell because I know folks know proud. They got him out the way. I know. I'm on live, G. Shut the f up. Damn, they on here talking about what you think about T.Roy getting popped. Damn, T.Roy got popped? When that happened? When did T.Roy get popped? Damn, somebody popped him. Is he dead? Did he die? Damn, merchant, they popped T.Roy. It must don't be, it must ain't that important shit. It ain't all over the internet.
King Von didn't care that he was in Cook County Jail surrounded by hardened criminals and murderers. He broke down and cried uncontrollably. T.Roy's death was a big hit for Oblock as well. He was also close to their affiliate 600, and a lot of their members had love for T.Roy. King Von would demand revenge for T.Roy's death while he was in jail, and members of Oblock and 600 who were very close to T.Roy would all band together under that same flag of revenge. On the day of T.Roy's death, Buka of 600 tweeted and said people don't even know what's about to transpire. They would become known as the Getback Gang, and they made 2017 a very bloody year in Chicago. Just 3 months after T.Roy's death, the Getback Gang would start their revenge campaign. On May 15th of 2017 at about 12:15 p.m., 44-year-old Warren Delton, aka Little Ho of Gyro City, was found shot to death on the sidewalk on the 6100 block of South Eberhard Avenue. According to witnesses, two men pulled up in a red vehicle and hopped out and started firing shots at Little Ho, hitting him multiple times until he fell to the ground. Then one of the men walked up to him, stood over him, and shot him multiple times in the head. It's alleged that one of 600's most dangerous members was responsible for this hit. Machiavel Sampson, aka Mikado 600, or Macaduya. This murder also highlighted the complicated gang ties in Chicago that not even being family and related can overcome, due to the fact that Makedo was seen in a picture with another member of 600 named 600 Breezy, who was the nephew of Little Ho, which means that he was posing in a picture with the man who killed his uncle. Due to his age, it's highly unlikely that he was involved in the new age beef between Gyro City and Oblock, but in the eyes of the Getback gang, an op was an op, and his affiliations made him a target for murder. The Getback gang's next body would come just 1 week later, at the expense of one of their most hated rivals, MOB. At 7:52 p.m. on May 22nd of 2017, 27-year-old Jamie Jones, aka Jamo from MOB, was driving on the 200 block of West 59th Street when a passing vehicle opened fire on him, spraying his car with bullets, hitting him multiple times. Jamo was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead just before midnight. It's been reported that the 3 Getback gang members responsible for this murder was Cap, Duke, and Makedo 600, who would later be arrested with the same gun that was used in this murder, along with the murder of Lil Ho, which would mean over the course of 7 days, Makedo was the primary gunman in 2 separate deadly shootings, but the Getback gang was just getting started. Oblock member E-Dog even tweeted out about how 2017 was about to be a cold-ass summer, and his social media post would prove to be very true. That gang had been putting in work. They still hadn't gotten close to the target that was actually responsible for T.Roy's death, STLEBT, and their subset Taekwon World. The Getback gang knew who would be the perfect target to let it be known that they were on the hunt and they were getting closer. 18-year-old Sherrod Ryan, aka Poppy, one of the most well-known members of Taekwon World and the best friend of TB, the man who killed T.Roy. Poppy was also seen on surveillance footage in the aftermath of T.Roy's murder with fellow Taekwon World member Richie Jerk. They were seen running into the store and laughing at T.Roy as he was bleeding out, as well as dissing T.Roy on social media and in his music with TB. And for one member in particular, it was extremely personal. Hakeem Murray, also known as HK or Heck. He was the younger brother of T.Roy. But despite T.Roy being deep in the streets, he would tell his younger brother to stay away and to focus on school and try to make a better life for himself. And by all accounts, he was following T.Roy's advice. But once he was murdered, according to those around him, he went crazy and became blinded by revenge. On June 17th of 2017, he would earn his nickname of HK in a very bloody and dramatic scene. 18-year-old Sherrod Ryan, aka Poppy, was working his job at the L&P candy store on the 7000 block of South State Street. At around 3:15 p.m., Poppy's manager told him that an elderly woman needed help taking her groceries to the car. He happily agreed, and as he walked towards the car with the older woman, they exchanged small talk until a maroon-colored car pulled up, and a man wearing all black with a white mask got out with an AK-47. He shot Poppy multiple times in the head in front of the woman as she screamed out in horror. After the news started to spread about the brazen broad daylight murder, people around Oblock would crown him with his new nickname, HK, the Headshot King. The day after Poppy's death, HK was seen on social media wearing a T.Roy chain, giving obvious signals that he was on the path to avenging his brother's death.
HK, nah, HK, I love HK. I ain't gonna lie to you.
That was T.Roy.
Yeah, that was T.Roy, little brother. I knew him as Hakeem. You know, they called him HK, but I called him Hakeem. He was a smart boy, wasn't gang bang when I was over there, none of that. But, you know, it's how much the drill and death that affect you. You know what I'm talking about? And I never knew he was off the porch, bro.
They just want to look and be nosy on the job.
Alright.
This for y'all entertainment or something? This is not for y'all entertainment or something, man.
You got one shorty walking up.
My boy V.Roy for y'all entertainment on folks now. My boy Lolo in the cut. This ain't for your entertainment. This really real. On PD.
The Getback gang was far from done with their campaign of murder. They would strike again less than 2 weeks later, but the exact motive behind this double murder remains highly debated and disputed. During a dark, stormy night on June 28th of 2017, at around 10:30 p.m., 32-year-old Janine Dow and 41-year-old Juliet Washington were driving in a red SUV in the Washington Park neighborhood. But when they came to a traffic stop, two men approached their vehicle from each side with handguns. They began to shoot and riddled the truck with bullets. Both women would be taken by paramedics but would ultimately succumb to their injuries, and the extremely emotional scene was captured by news outlets. The two women were good friends who grew up together in the Washington Park neighborhood, and rumors began to circulate on exactly why the two women were targeted. There were reports online that Janine had a reputation of setting up gang members around Chicago, and that this was simply revenge for something that she had done before. She did live in the neighborhood of hated oblock rival mob, but according to those close to the situation that actually knew Janine, she had absolutely no gang ties at all. She was just an everyday civilian, a mom trying to provide for her 3 kids. The same goes for Juliet Washington, who was working as a mail carrier trying to provide for her children as well. Law enforcement would later name 2 people as the primary suspects: Kevin Brown, aka Little Scud from O-Block, and Makedo 600. It was discovered that Makedo made up to 20 phone calls to a phone number that had connections to Janine Dow. She had an open case against this person for battery. The unnamed man was also from O-Block, and it's believed that the individual didn't want her to testify against him, so he paid Makedo and Little Scud to take her out by any means necessary. So that's exactly what they did, and Juliet Washington was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. People point out that the death of the 2 women weren't a response to T.Roy being killed, but it did show that the Getback gang was murder for hire. But their next murders would leave no question on who exactly they were aiming for: the family of FBG Duck, one of the top dogs of STL EBT. It was widely believed that his brother FBG Brick played a major role in T.Roy being set up that day that he was murdered. There was strong speculation that he was the one who dropped T.Roy's location. So the Getback gang had multiple reasons to want FBG Brick dead, and it wouldn't be long until they caught up to him. On July 17, 2017 at about 2:45 p.m., a house party was being held on the 6300 block of South St. Lawrence. 31-year-old Stanley Mack, aka Kobe Mack, and 26-year-old Jermaine Robinson, aka FBG Brick, were chilling on the front porch when a white SUV pulled up, and someone from inside the vehicle started to call out to Kobe Mack, asking him if he knew where they could buy some weed. But as he got closer, the window rolled down and guns were drawn. He was hit multiple times, including in the head. FBG Brick immediately took off, running down the gangway trying to escape. But while he was hopping a fence, he got stuck, and it was already shooters on the other side waiting for him, like they had the whole thing planned out. He was shot numerous times from both sides and left to die hanging on a gate. Pictures as well as videos would surface of his mother, Mama Duck, and his brother FBG Duck crying uncontrollably at the loss of Brick.
Like shit, I told myself I was locked up. I'm like, shit, I know what I gotta do, you know what I'm saying, to survive. Like, I know I ain't supposed to be out playing with guns or whatever, bro, but come from where I come from, bro, you know what I'm saying, I ain't just anybody. You gotta hide that motherfucker, bro. Not just, it's a motto I chose with my life. I'd rather have it on. I'd rather be locked up than dead, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Do you represent Tuckerville?
Oh, to the fullest. That's what I do it for. That's what it's always been about since day one. Just took it. Like, my homie was 15 years old when he got killed.
2017, FBG Brick, he passed away. Was him and his cousin?
Yes, Kobe.
Can you take us through that day?
So, from what I heard, he wasn't going to come outside that day. He was going to stay in the house. But he had a friend that came and got him. Whoever he got in the car with wound up taking him on 63rd. And this block was full of people. A car pulled up and asked for Duck. Like, yo, Duck out here? And everybody looking like, who is you? But Brick knew who was in the car. And he linked in there. He was like, oh, what's up? After that took place, then that's when the car came up the one way. They instantly shot Kobe. And Brick tried to run and jump a gate. As he was running towards the back, somebody was back there waiting on him.
The Getback gang knew that getting to Brick was a big score, but they had still yet to find the man who actually pulled the trigger and killed T.Roy. TB. He knew that he was a high priority target for Oblock and 600, but he just couldn't leave the streets behind. He had a teacher named Sarah who was in charge of the after-school program that he used to attend. She took a liking to TB and seen the potential that he had, and was able to assist him in being able to graduate from Dunbar High School. But she also saw him and other students fall victim to the streets. Sarah stated that she moved out of Chicago to North Carolina due to the violence, but she did return to attend the funeral of Poppy. While at the funeral, she talked to TB about what he had going on, and he told her that he had just enrolled into a community college. She told him that he should think about moving to North Carolina with her and her husband, to start all over again, to start a new life. But she said that she could tell by the look in his eyes that wasn't gonna happen, and she was afraid that she had lost him to the streets. Unfortunately, her premonition would prove to be true. TB was moving dangerous in the streets. He didn't switch up his routine and was still spending a lot of time in the same exact area where he caught T.Roy previously. This would give his ops the perfect opportunity to ambush him and catch him with his guard down. Text messages would leak between HK and another member of Oblock, with HK telling him that he found the location where TB lived. Just 3 days before everything went down, T.Roy and King Von's friend E-Dog posted on social media saying, "Get back on the way, just watch." On the morning of September 26 of 2017, TB woke up and tweeted out that he was feeling blessed. But just 3 hours later, at around 12:45 p.m., he was chilling on the 7000 block of South Chapel Avenue. He was with a member of Gyro City named Side. When out of nowhere, 2 gunmen popped out. TB's friend Side from Gyro City would take a headshot but miraculously survive. But unfortunately, TB wouldn't be so lucky. After he was shot and fell to the ground, the 2 gunmen walked over to him, stood over him, and unloaded the clip. It's even reported that they reloaded their handguns and continued to shoot. It was complete overkill. Oblock and 600 clowned TB's death, with a barrage of social media posts celebrating his gruesome demise. Gyro City, STL, EBT, as well as Taekwon World would all pay their respects to TB, calling him by his nickname, the T.Roy Slayer. HK as well as Mikado 600 were both identified as the shooters in TB's death. HK went from being a good kid in a mad city to becoming an absolute killer and one of Oblock's top shooters.
You already know. PDK, bitch. Fuck the other side. Me and my boy Lil.
Fuck the other side. I don't know how we rocking on KI gang.
EBT.
TW, bitch. TW shit, shorty. Out here.
That beast, Steve.
We out here, shorty.
Fuck LA. SCL, EBT, bitch. Shoot a Wooski, shoot a movie.
That beast. Lil Steve. We right here on 6th, 3rd. EBT. Fuck 12, man. We out here on the tray. Me and my boy, Crazy Chris, we out here. Rude Dog. My boy. Yeah. We out here always. Full now.
Look. Oblock, they know.
We done did, he shot a Chevy. Damn, then they killed Troy Killer, I'm happy. Smoking on that Terry Berry. Ain't left for Bloody Mary.
It's also speculated that just 48 hours after the murder of TB, more Getback took place. On the afternoon of September 28th of 2017, Gyro City member Fredo was shot and killed at a gas station, all while his father witnessed the entire thing. It's been reported that Getback gang member E-Dog was responsible for this shooting, but no arrest was ever made in this case. Just 2 months later, the Getback gang would suffer another loss of one of their most important members. HK, the younger brother of T.Roy, who hopped into the trenches in order to avenge his death. But he wouldn't be taken out by an op or a rival. It would be by the hands of a civilian who had no gang ties. The day after Thanksgiving on November 24th of 2017, Mikado 600, Lil D from Oblock and HK were all hanging out in Parkway Gardens when they spotted a man who wasn't from around there. He had on gold chains and nice clothes, and possibly even some cash. HK and Mikado felt like it would be an easy lick. Two of the most feared shooters of Getback gang pressing a civilian, he would come up off whatever he had easily. But things would quickly go left. They asked the man what he was doing in oblock. He seen that one of them had a weapon and decided to take off running into a building. But the man would slam the door behind him to keep HK outside. After struggling to keep the door closed, he decided to up his weapon and fire multiple shots through the door. HK was hit 2 times. Lil D and Makedo would take off running, all while Makedo was shooting blindly back at the man behind the door. After they realized that HK was on the ground hit, they ran back to him to try to help him out, but it was too late. He was already gone, and the man that shot him had already fled the scene as well. He would later be apprehended by police, but after conducting their investigation, they determined that it was a robbery gone wrong, and he was released without charges. STL-EBT was more than excited to hear the news of HK's demise. There was even rumors that it was somebody from 63rd that pulled the trigger, but this would prove to be completely false. Members of oblock would give itself the sub-name City of Heck in honor of HK. Just a few weeks after HK's death, the other half of V.Roy was on his way out of jail. During that time, he would also receive his famous nickname that he would carry on for the rest of his life, Grandson, because the older inmate said that he moved and acted like the founder of the BDs, David Barksdale, aka King David. He also got in numerous fights during his time locked up in Cook County and even started a jail riot. Multiple videos would surface on the internet of King Von being interviewed by corrections officers after having fights with fellow inmates. He spent 3.5 years fighting a murder charge and 2 attempted murders, and he was facing life in prison. But ultimately, he was able to beat trial and prevail. By December of 2018, he was once again a free man, and he had one thing on his mind, sliding for T.Roy. And in the summer of 2018, they were able to catch another prominent member of STL-EBT, who also played an intricate role in T.Roy being murdered, so he was just as wanted as TB. On June 15, 2018, at about 9:50 p.m., 22-year-old DeAndre Wallace, aka Can't Get Right, or Man was standing in front of a store on the 400 block of East 63rd when 2 gunmen appeared out of the darkness and a barrage of bullets followed. They shot and killed a janitor who was just cleaning up outside, 43-year-old Troy Hampton, who was an innocent bystander. But the shooter's main focus was Can't Get Right, and they wanted to make sure that he didn't survive. Surveillance footage would show one of the shooters standing over him and unloading the clip. After Can't Get Right's violent death, people would speculate that it wasn't even oblock who caught the body, that it was actually an ally of STL-EBT, 051 Melly. After an interview was posted on the YouTube channel Status Update Exclusive that showed Can't Get Right dropping Wise right in front of 051 Melly, which would be considered disrespectful to his gang. Some people believe that this was enough for 051 Melly to want Can't Get Right dead and that he may have had him backdoored. Melly would constantly dismiss claims that he had anything to do with it, but there would be an infamous IG Live video with King Von and other members of oblock celebrating Can't Get Right's death and basically taking credit for the murder, telling their viewers that they should start killing people too because they're so good at coming up with jokes to diss the ops. The Getback gang was ruthless and brutal. They would kill with no mercy. King Von was the unofficial leader, and whenever he gave the green light, it was a go.
There you go. Can't get right. There you go. There you go. Cause I can't get right.
Alright, now, everybody, not at one time. What just happened?
He said,
Oh, see, this nigga a bug.
everybody don't speak at work.
Hold on. What just happened?
A lot of glitches and
Hold on, you right there with your hand up. You tell me what happened. What's your name? Diddy from Fox? What happened?
That's what happened.
Who got killed? That's what I'm asking y'all. You right there in the back. Diddy from Fox. Who got killed, gang?
Yeah.
Can't Get Right got killed.
Can't get right.
Hey, somebody show me a picture. I don't think I know y'all talking about.
Let's say drop a picture in the comments.
Show the first picture. Is this Can't Get...
Is that Can't Get Right?
Hold on, is
Show
this
him.
him?
Is this
or
Can't
is this
Get Right?
him? Is
I
this
don't know
him?
how he look.
This what he look like?
This ain't called snitching. I'm just trying to get verified. You get verification.
Ah, dummy.
They tell some can't get up. Oh,
They always make some shit before we do it. They beat us to it every time.
Y'all should start killing people. Cause y'all be doing this. You doing the man.
Oh, Steve, this nigga crazy. He doing y'all start killing people.
They say can't get up.
Can't get up.
Can't get up.
Can't get up. Call this ass can't
get up.
Y'all sure he
Damn,
did?
they just whack can't get up.
Somebody top and see he gonna get up. He probably overhead on niggas get killed. Niggas.
4 months later, the Getback gang was back active. They would target one of their most hated rivals from MOB, 25-year-old Van Treese Chris, aka Dooski the Man. He was the most prominent rapper from the mob set throughout the early and late 2010s. He was known for being extremely disrespectful for members of Oblock and 600 that had passed away, as well as Lamron, the set that Lil Durk was from. It's been said that one day when Dooski and Durk had court on the same day, Dooski walked up to him and slapped him and assaulted Durk, something that he would often reference on social media while he was trolling Durk. Sometimes he would even use females from his rival's neighborhood to disrespect their own gang, laughing at him the whole time. Dooski took pride in being one of the most disrespectful artists in the drill movement, but soon that reputation would cost him his life, because on October 8th, 2018, just before 4 p.m., Dooski the Man was chilling in his vehicle with a female companion. They were parked in the 5600 block of South Michigan Avenue, which was considered mob territory, when a vehicle pulled alongside of them and opened fire, hitting Dooski the Man in the head and also wounding his female passenger. They were transported by ambulance to the University of Chicago Medical Center. The woman would survive with a gunshot wound to the foot, but Dooski the Man wouldn't be so lucky, and he would be pronounced dead at 4:33 p.m. The disrespect that he gave his dead ops while he was alive would be the same thing that his rivals would do to him in his death. One in particular, named Cap 12 of the Getback gang. Right after the death of Dooski the Man, he would make multiple social media posts dissing him, even saying things like "smoking on Dooski because I know him." Mimo 600 would also join in on the social media jokes, clowning Dooski the Man for getting caught lacking. King Von would even have Florida rapper YNW Melly dissing Dooski the Man on IG Live.
You know what's going on, bitch.
They gonna always bull.
Close.
Yeah, honey hoes at the hotel. Y'all got fucked up, boy.
Stop playing, ho.
Y'all got my boy Gunna. What's his name? Hello, Melly. The house hate that. Hey, the house hate that when y'all tweak on the house. What you say?
It said that Cap 12 along with Oblock affiliate Front Street had been riding through mob territory all day dressed in all black, and eventually they got sight on Dooski. There was also internet rumors that his ops had nothing to do with his death, and it was actually members of his own gang. Just prior to his death, his sister had an altercation with her boyfriend, which caused Dooski the Man to intervene. They ultimately got into a physical altercation which led to Dooski shooting and killing the man, but he would later find out that it wasn't an adult and that it was a 16-year-old boy. People close to Dooski said that he showed remorse after the incident because he didn't know that the person was only 16 years old. It said that the OGs and mob didn't like the way that he handled the situation either, killing a kid, so in return they wanted him dead. But this theory has been highly debated, and what happened just 24 hours after the death of Dooski pointed to his opposition being the one who pulled the trigger. On October 10th of 2018, 22-year-old Ramon Devine, aka Waldo 4.0 from 600, was standing on the sidewalk in the 200 block of East 63rd at about 4:30 p.m. when a blue sedan pulled up and started firing shots at him. One of those bullets would ultimately strike him in the head, and he would be pronounced dead by police just 7 minutes later. Waldo wasn't as high profile as some of the other members of 600, but he was definitely loved as one of the guys. Throughout the years, he could be seen in multiple music videos of members of Oblock and 600, including King Von. He may not have been well known to the public, but he was definitely well known to his ops. He would often post very disrespectful memes of dead members of his rivals, including Mob. It's been alleged that he was one of the people riding around with his best friend Cap 12 on the day that Dusky was murdered. This theory would gain further momentum after mob member Lil Shan would take to social media, seemingly claiming Waldo's murder as his work. He also went live on Instagram mocking Lil Durk's song lyrics, saying that we get shit done. Waldo was very close to Memo 600 as well as Cap 12. They both would pay tribute to Waldo online, saying how much that he meant to him. Cap 12 would even express how it affected his mental state. They would both pose with a cardboard cutout of Waldo, with Memo 600 caption simply saying, "Get back activated." The murder of Dusky the Man and Waldo would set the stage for one of the most brazen shootings in the war between the Getback gang and their rivals. It would involve King Von, who had a personal beef with another member of STL similar to the one that he had with KI, with FBG Wooski, the King Op. For years, they had gone back and forth with each other, sending death threats on Twitter, saying what they would do if they ever caught the other one lacking. On October 22, 2018 at about 12:30 p.m., the funeral for Dusky the Man was being held at the Bethlehem Star Missionary Baptist Church on South Cottage Grove. Everybody who attended was exiting the church after the service, when a vehicle drove by and began to fire shots indiscriminately. 6 people would ultimately be hit, with one of those people being FBG Wooski, who took a shot to the head. The 5 other people who were shot would all survive their injuries, but FBG Wooski's situation was serious, and there was even reports that he was dead. But he found a way to make it through, although his life would be changed forever, and it would be a long road to recovery. The Getback gang would take credit for the brazen act, in particular King Von, who would relentlessly mock Wooski for taking the headshot, saying that he wasn't the same and that he changed him. But despite still being active in the Getback gang, King Von would soon get his exit out of the streets, thanks to his old friend and rap star Lil Durk. Von said that they were always cool growing up, but they would grow even closer while he was locked up in jail, and he even helped to pay his legal fees to beat his murder cases. Durk seen potential in Von as a rapper, and wanted him to move down to Atlanta to get out of Chicago and start a new life and a new career. 2 months prior to shooting FBG Wooski in the head, he dropped his music video for his song Problems, and that was followed by the single Beat That Body featuring Oblock affiliate and one of the leaders of the Trigger Happy family, THF Bezu. But his music video for his next song, Crazy Story, was the one that would really put Von on the map, captivating the public's attention and have people asking, who was this gangster from Chicago claiming all the bodies? In late 2018, Lil Durk would bring King Von with him on his Breakfast Club interview to introduce him to the world. There was even a point in the interview when Lil Durk had to signal to King Von to stop talking so much about his multiple murder charges that he had faced.
What's the story? What's your story?
My story, shit.
Yeah.
I just got out of jail for just beat a body in 2 attempts. Like, December? I just got out, started rapping shit. I got the Crazy Story from the drop. Got the War With Us and got Problems out. Mm-hmm. Shit, right now, shit, I'm on a up and coming shit.
So you was in jail for 2 murders?
Yeah, 1 murder and 2 attempts. I just beat.
How you beat that?
What you mean,
I mean, you didn't do it clearly. But I mean,
you
it's hard to throw young black men in jail.
Like jury, like, you know, like, you know, jury, yeah, look, you know. When all the way said.
Jury, fucking
you took it to trial?
You gonna beat it. You gonna beat it if you didn't do it. That's all.
That's expensive.
Despite his new rise in rap career and his new change in scenery, it's said that he continued his violent ways down in Atlanta, because at about 5:30 a.m. on February 5th, 2019, Lil Durk and King Von would be involved in a shooting that happened outside of the Varsity restaurant. According to a witness, she was talking to King Von and Lil Durk as they sat inside their vehicle outside the restaurant, when a fight broke out in the car in front of them. Lil Durk and King Von drove up and allegedly started to fire shots, shooting 23-year-old Alexander Weatherspoon. He was transported to the hospital in critical condition but ultimately survived. And after the surveillance footage surfaced, Lil Durk and King Von would have warrants issued for their arrest for attempted murder. Video footage would surface of them in the courtroom during their arraignment, with Lil Durk seeming somewhat worried and concerned about what the possible outcome could be, and King Von rocking back and forth in his chair like it was just another walk in the park. They would ultimately make bond and be released, but under the stipulations that Von and Dirk couldn't be around each other in any way, shape, or form. King Von would speak about this during his No Jumper interview with Adam 22.
Case against a rapper accused in a shooting outside of the Varsity will move forward. Today, Lil Durk appeared in court where a judge ruled there was enough evidence for him to go to trial.
On Friday, detectives from Atlanta and Chicago testified in the criminal case against rapper Lil Durk in Fulton County Court. They say around 5 in the morning on February 5th, Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Derek Banks, and his co-defendant Devontae Bennett were seen on camera involved in shooting Alexander Witherspoon, a person police say they knew.
They were hanging out. They went to a studio to make music.
The rapper and Bennett listened to the evidence against them in court. Police told the judge later that night the victim, Banks, Bennett, and others went to a nightclub, a gas station, and ended up in the parking lot of the Varsity. That's when Witherspoon said he was robbed and shot.
He said his chain was snatched off his neck, and he had $30,000 stolen from him, and they stole the vehicle he was driving.
Police say Banks was seen on tape shooting a gun.
You see Mr. Banks' arm out the window firing several shots.
Part of the case, so is it like a thing where you're not supposed to be around each other?
Yeah, so yeah, me and Dirk, we only see each other like at court, if we got court or some shit.
So even when you're on tour, you can't really be around each other too much?
Nah, we can't. Nah, hell nah.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah, that shit ugly.
Is that strange?
Yeah, because you know it's like, I started this shit off with him. Like, he started it up for me and everything. Like, how people get to noticing me shit. Like, he bringing me to his interviews and pulling up a chair right here and letting me sit right there.
Right.
Like, even though it's just, like, it's supposed to say, if he came, no jump, he'd have a chat right here for me. You'd be like, what the fuck going on?
Right.
Nah, this is my artist. You see what I'm saying?
But outside of the attempted murder charges that he was already facing, there was also rumors that King Von caught another body while he was down in Atlanta. On March 31st, 2019, there was a house party being held in Southwest Atlanta on Landrum Drive at about 11 p.m. It said that a fight broke out between Lil Durk's OTF crew and a Blood Street gang from Atlanta. After the fight, shots would ring out, leaving 4 people shot and 1 man dead, 27-year-old Tyreek Levitt. But there would be reports that it was none other than King Von who was responsible for the shooting. He would even reference it in one of his songs, saying that we kill people after fights. King Von would be arrested again in September of 2019 after allegedly assaulting an Uber driver. Despite having a promising rap career and moving to a new city, it seems like King Von couldn't stay out of trouble. He had numerous pending criminal cases, but not even that could stop his rise in the rap world. He did features with multiple big-name artists, such as YNW Melly and Young and Ace. This would help raise his profile even more, along with the release of his popular mixtape Grandson Volume 1. Although his popularity as an artist was rising each day, King Von wanted to let it be known that he wasn't a rapper, but a gangster that gets paid to rap. In his music, Von would lean into his reputation as one of the top killers from Oblock, but it would leave fans with one question: exactly how many bodies does King Von have? He would reference and give clues to what the number could be in his music, but a lot of times it just seems like he was doing mathematics. The exact body count for King Von would become a frequently debated topic online, leaving millions of people to speculate about the self-proclaimed Chicago demon.
Trying to count my bodies. You gon' need 3-4 hands trying to count my body. I'm a savage, I am what I am. Kill some niggas, I do it again. Talk about bodies, I got a few. 4 plus 3, 3 plus 2. I'm King Von, nigga, who is you?
King Von, the rapper. Man, I'm not a rapper, man. See, they think I'm a hoe. Nah, I'm a gangster. I just rap because they be giving me money for it. Damn, that's crazy. You know, I just want to say hi.
But we put in work from 64th, and from 65th, we not from 63rd. We hang on 64th, 65th, and King Drive. And on 63rd, over here kind of to the left, they dirty and stuff. They be up there just doing stealing and doing all type of petty stuff. So we don't go up there with them because they be dirty. I don't know, something ain't right up there. So I had to make it known, like, because it's so close, we not from 63rd.
OTF shit, man. Get back gang shit, man. Motherfucking family, man. You know what's up with us, man. Always, 'cause these niggas want my life.
But King Von wasn't the only gangster from Chicago who was making a lucrative career in the rap game. His longtime rival from 63rd, FBG Duck, was also on the rise, and he signed a $1.7 million deal with Sony. But despite the two men seeing more money than they ever seen in their entire lives, the hatred remained, with them constantly sending threats to one another, as well as dissing each other's dead friends. The violent battle between Oblock and STL had been going on for well over a decade, with blood being shed on both sides and multiple lives being lost. But in late 2019, FBG Duck would do something musically that nobody seen coming. He would give respect to the other side. He dropped a music video for his song Chicago Legends, where he paid respects to friends that he had lost throughout his time in the streets, and he also paid respect to Oblock and their affiliates, giving a shout out to Lil Durk's cousin OTF Newski, Fredo Santana, and L.A. Capone. The song received a very positive response from fans. They applauded Duck for his efforts to push peace, and possibly even slow down or stop the violence between the two warring gangs. And he actually had a surprising ally in his efforts, none other than King Von's uncle Range Rover Hang. They were cool before things really jumped off between 63rd and Oblock, but despite everything that was going on between Duck and Von, they always maintained a respectful relationship.
Exactly. Like I say, we was never the real problem. You see what I'm saying? We just made each other problems.
And once again, this business can solve the situation.
For real, I swear to God. You see what I'm saying? But if everybody opened their eyes and everybody was smart, like they say they is, nigga, you can get on that song and talk that shit. Talk that shit and try to put some effort into making things better, nigga.
Range Rover Hang told Duck that he would talk to Von about possibly squashing the beef, because if those two were on board and approved it, everybody else could possibly fall in line too. But his uncle said that King Von completely rejected this idea and said that the beef could only end one way, and that's when FBG Duck was dead.
You know we ain't squashing no beef, no beef. My dog got dumped in the middle of the road. We leaving this shit in the street.
And I had a problem with nephew about the same. Me and him tight. He seen me take the picture with FBG Duck. He man hang on some GD shit. Bro, no, I had to tell him, well, Hang really get money. He on some, you know what I'm saying? But it was crazy because I ain't gonna even lie to you. A month before FBG Duck died, I'm talking to him. We in the pace setters. This the project of the projects. I'm telling him, man, nephew, man, I've been with nephew. What y'all got going on? He like, man, that's why I dropped Chicago Legends, bro. He like, man, I ain't even on that. I really, Duck telling me, like, man, I really with him. He like, I done talked to a couple times. But he like, man, that's what they own. They stuck to it. He like, I really know, you know, I'm trying to get some money, bro. It's just weird, bro. Duck really ain't have a problem. It's like when he made the Chicago Legends, he tried to cease everything. It backfired. Because them niggas ain't trying to hear shit.
Ain't supposed to mad at me, I put in too much work. They said bust it back, let's get back in and get my back.
The beef between Oblock and 63rd was a hot topic on the internet, and one of the most high-profile people who was keeping score was none other than DJ Academics, who had become synonymous with the Chicago drill movement. Some people believe that his coverage of the Chicago gang wars was extremely exploitive, making profit off the trauma of young black teens in Chicago. Although there were some people who believed that DJ Academics' presence was necessary, saying that a spotlight did need to be placed on the city so it can show the reckless violence that was taking place on a daily basis there. Multiple rappers from Chicago would speak out on how they felt about DJ Academics, sometimes even challenging him on his own platform, labeling him as part of the problem, saying that he was giving certified killers from Chicago worldwide popularity. King Von would even become a part of a documentary that was being filmed by the A&D network about Jakira K.I. Barnes, but they were under the assumption that King Von was her friend, not knowing that he was her enemy and allegedly the man that murdered her.
She did get a couple of tweets from a guy named King Von, who's from the rival gang, reaching out to her and proposing she be his girlfriend.
Yeah, I was trying first. I was like, damn.
The exact text was something along the lines of, when it's all over with, I'm going to get up in you or something. Does that sound about right?
That sound wrong, so yeah, I'll be saying wrong. Yeah, I probably did say that.
Get you a Jackie Dempson, check it out, because as the NBA playoffs actually heat up, I could tell you what always coincides with the shooter shooting in the NBA is the shooter shooting in Chirac. Okay, they're getting ready for the NBA All-Star Game, which for them is July 4th weekend. Now, there's actually a real-life horror film going on in Chirac right now. You ever heard of I Am Legend? Yeah, I heard of it, right? The movie where Will Smith, he's the only human on Earth, surrounded by a bunch of bloodthirsty zombies that want to kill him. Well, in Chirac today, not only is the Hunger Games popping off, but also an adaptation of Will Smith's I Am Legends going on, except it's called I Am Savage.
In response to King Von's relentless dissing of 63rd, FBG Duck would release one of the most disrespectful songs in Chicago drill history. It was titled Dead Bitches, where he talked about fallen members of Oblock and 600, such as J Money, Lil Boo, T.Roy and O.D. Perry, as well as many others. Duck had done a complete 180 from the piece that he was talking about previously. He would even express regret over his song Chicago Legends, saying that it was just business. The disrespectful nature of the song rivaled that of his good friend FBG Wooski, who had released his own vicious diss track towards Oblock called Computers. With his reputation, FBG Duck knew that he was in danger every time he was on the streets of Chicago. But no matter what, it was home, and he wasn't gonna leave no matter what. He would often speak about it in his interviews with DJ Vlad.
But nigga, fuck T.Roy and O.D. them dead bitches. You heard?
Duck, we talking about you. If one of my ops see me, that who around, they ass gonna squeeze. Cause they wanna kill me so bad. They hate me, they know I tell the truth. And I always been a problem child for them. See what I'm saying? Like, I always been a problem. It's not, I just don't give them hell when it comes to music. I gave them hell, like, in the streets. They know. For them, they know. Like I said, you put yourself in somewhere you don't want to be, then you got to be ready for what's coming. You feel me? You know, motherfucker followed me. I ain't see it coming. You feel me? Motherfucker got up on me. I'm just glad they ain't killed me.
You see a lot of Chicago artists who just leave Chicago. You see Chief Keef, he live in Calabasas, around where I live. You know, Dirk, I think, moved to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Why stay in Chicago when these types of shootings are happening?
Unfortunately for FBG Duck, his premonitions about an early death would unfortunately come true. In May of 2020, King Von would upload a vlog to YouTube, documenting his return to Parkway Gardens. And the way that everyone gathered around him, it seemed like he was the king of Oblock. He broke down $100,000 cash with the guys on camera. Many people in the comments said that he was just showing love to the guys that he came up with, but others believed that this may have been money for a hit on his hated rival FBG Duck. Because less than 2 months later, on August 4th of 2020, FBG Duck was shopping down in the Gold Coast in Chicago. He was buying presents for his son's birthday. This section of Chicago is known for being upscale, surrounded by dozens of designer stores. Far away from the dangerous areas of 63rd and Oblock, 2 vehicles pulled up and armed gunmen hopped out, surrounding FBG Duck, spraying bullets in his direction. He was hit dozens of times, and videos would surface on the internet showing his final moments. In the wake of FBG Duck's murder, King Von didn't shy away from people saying that he had something to do with it. In fact, he leaned into the theory with a smile.
I don't even be playing like that. All that dissing or saying something or even acting like y'all was shit that y'all know for sure ain't with, I'ma smack on y'all. I ain't gonna play like that. Then we know y'all ain't gangster, y'all on the internet. Ain't no more FB.
How would you know this is small?
To everyone's surprise, he would say that him and FBG Duck had actually been in contact and had been talking to each other in the DMs about possibly squashing their beef and bringing peace between their 2 gangs. DJ Academics wasn't buying that was true, and King Von would stop the interview multiple times, getting out of camera view and laughing uncontrollably with one of his members from the Getback gang.
Could we, from here on out, you know, let Tuka rest in peace?
Let's break down this Tuka situation. I'm not even talking about nobody. You see what I'm saying? It's just Tuka and what we call
the strand of weed and shit now.
You saddened by the news that he was murdered then?
Man, that shit hurt. I didn't go to sleep at night. I can't believe that shit. Hold on, man.
There was also an infamous vlog released shortly after Duck's death, featuring Oblock member Boss Top. It said that one of the vehicles used in Duck's murder was shown in the video, as well as some of the people who were a part of the hit squad. FBG Duck's mom made it clear from the very beginning about who she believed killed her son, and she pointed the finger directly at King Von. He allegedly even went to the Icebox jewelry store and had special Oblock pendants made for everybody who played a part in Duck's hit.
One just put this 1992 to 2012.
Okay, who's that one for?
Sherrod Squad.
I want to know the name.
Yeah, I know. C Murder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And both of these on one?
19 to 2010.
Okay.
Born date, yeah.
And this is on one pendant?
Yeah, 1922.
Okay.
Any thoughts on him? Like, did you know him? Who Duck? Did you know him before? Like everything?
Like that. I don't know. On game. All I know, don't say that shit about Troy or rest in peace, Duck.
While Von's personal beef with FBG Duck was coming to an end, he was starting a different rivalry with another rapper in the music industry that would eventually turn deadly. He was going up against one of the biggest stars in rap, Kentrell Golden, aka NBA Youngboy, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It said that the beef started because King Von was actually a fan of NBA Youngboy and wanted to get him for a feature. But when NBA Youngboy didn't respond and played him off, King Von took it personal. He responded by making public appearances with NBA Youngboy's on again, off again girlfriend, saying that they were in the studio making music. NBA Youngboy would pull a similar move by allegedly hooking up and having a fling with King Von's girlfriend, Asian Doll. King Von would make social media posts about how his girlfriend cheated on him and how tough breakups can be. The two rappers would have heated exchanges on IG Live, with King Von often taunting and mocking NBA Youngboy, and it seems like the more upset he got, the more King Von enjoyed it.
Raise me, you hear me? You know I ain't no hoe. What up?
My grandma raised me. You know I ain't no hoe. Matter of fact.
My wife? You talking about my wife? Inside my house that I paid for? Now her bitch ass dead, huh?
My bed.
He said wife.
Man, whatever. It's upset.
Who, huh? Who, huh?
Honestly.
Shit off my neck. You snatched it off his neck. Look at the camera with your scare ass. Let this snatch my chain off your neck. You ain't snatched shit off my neck.
But I got this, but y'all ain't take no chain off my neck. Y'all took it off.
You ain't take shit from me.
I can't hide it. Trying to make me fuck young boy talking about on this song, bro.
What?
He talking crazy on this man.
Oh, yeah?
He ain't even like that.
Oh!
On his ass now.
On his
All that cap. You got cap in your raps.
King Von's friend and musical mentor Lil Durk would also begin to diss NBA Youngboy. This would cause Savannah rapper Tyquan Bowman, aka Quando Rondo, to jump head first into the beef as well. He was signed to NBA Youngboy's record label and was going at Lil Durk and Von on his behalf. Even though there was a time when King Von and Quando Rondo was cool, he even had him dissing his ops over on 63rd.
Y'all niggas steal some shit. I'm saying though, they got 63rd niggas some dirty ass niggas, man. Y'all niggas talking about, man. I'm talking about, hey, listen though, man, the nigga on 64, y'all 63rd niggas over there smoking crack and shit.
Their war of words online would meet reality in the early morning hours of November 6 of 2020. King Von was celebrating the release of his Welcome to Oblock album as well as performing at the Opium nightclub in Atlanta. According to people who were in King Von's entourage, they said something about him seemed off on this night. Even though he had every reason to be happy and feel like he was on top of the world, it seemed like his mind was somewhere else. After making his appearance at the club, King Von was a part of a motorcade that was supposed to be headed back to his home and calling it a night. But for some reason, King Von told the person who was driving his vehicle to take a detour. They were headed straight for the Monaco Hookah Lounge. Von had got word that Quando Rondo was gonna be there, and he wanted to get up with him about all of the stuff that he had been saying online. It was around 2:15 a.m. when King Von got sight on Quando Rondo outside the lounge. He immediately began to punch Quando Rondo multiple times, and a fight broke out between the two crews until a member of Quando's entourage named Timothy Leaks, aka Lil Tim, pulled out a gun and shot King Von numerous times. A shootout ensued between the two groups of men, which was observed by two undercover Atlanta police officers, hitting a total of 5 people from Von's entourage. 3 of those people would survive their injuries, the other 2 wouldn't be so lucky. One of those individuals was 34-year-old Mark Blakely, aka Slutty, the brother of T.Roy. Von's friends would rush him to the hospital. It said that on the way there he was awake and actually talking, and asked him why y'all let him get up on me like that. Lil Durk was on IG Live when word came down about what happened to Von, and you can tell once he got the news, his entire energy changed. The death of King Von was major news in the hip-hop world and beyond. He was even honored at the 64th Annual Grammy Awards.
But that didn't stop NBA Youngboy, Quando Rondo, and Lil Tim from all making diss songs about King Von after his passing. NBA Youngboy would even go as far as taking credit for Von's death, even though he wasn't there on the night that it happened. This would cause Durk and Youngboy to have somewhat of a subliminal back and forth online, using money to spell out their death threat messages towards each other. Lil Durk would speak on his issues with NBA Youngboy on the DJ Academics podcast, saying that he believed that NBA Youngboy was a lame for claiming King Von's body as if he really did something.
If there's something that could ever be solved, or if there's something that you guys could ignore each other, because not everything can be solved.
And Von we trust. What did you do? What did he do to Von?
Nothing.
Okay, cool.
Has been affected because
Quando's a little boy.
Well, I mean, that's his artist.
I used to have him like this.
You mean Quando?
Saying fuck 63rd.
Less than a year after King Von's death, the Getback gang would slowly begin to fall. After FBG Duck's passing, his mom would become a strong presence on the internet, vowing that she would get justice for her son and telling everybody that would listen the feds were on the way and they were gonna get everyone involved in Duck's murder. Footage began to circulate online, basically tracking FBG Duck's killer's every move, showing them rushing out of Oblock so they can get at Duck, all the way to the moment where they pulled up at the Dolce & Gabbana store and opened fire. And in October of 2021, the feds would raid Oblock, arresting multiple people on federal murder charges. They would become known as the Oblock 6, even though there was a 7th shooter, 18-year-old Ezell Rawls, aka Zell Munna, who was the cousin of T.Roy, but he grew up with him so they were more like brothers. But it said once he got word that the feds had him on murder charges, he just couldn't face prison and decided to self-delete. Another prolific and deadly member of the Getback gang was already sitting in prison, Mikado 600, who was facing double murder charges for the deaths of Janine Dow and Juliette Washington. Although he would pass away while incarcerated under mysterious circumstances, the Getback gang was once an unstoppable force in the streets, almost seeming invincible. But now the empire was falling. The legacy of King Von became an intense debate topic on the internet, with some people believing that he was a rising star that never got to see his full potential, while other people say that he would have never been able to fulfill his promising career because even if he would have stayed alive, he would have more than likely ended up getting arrested on murder charges. So either way, King Von's story would have ended in tragic fashion regardless. There was even conversations about should he be considered a serial killer due to the numerous bodies that he claimed to have had. Internet personality Charleston White would go viral with his thoughts on King Von, basically saying that he was the epitome of live by the gun, die by the gun, even stating that he deserved what happened to him.
I had already said it. I hadn't watched it. But from what I've said, from what I've heard, everything that I've said is pretty much legitimate about this particular individual. He was a serial killer who bragged about killing people, and he professed and confessed to be a demon. So from what I hear, that documentary proves everything to be true. He is a serial killer, and he was a demon in human form.
You get triggered by the Sly for Vaughn comments. I don't know if people still say it. They used to say it, but you also mentioned a song. They'd be like, they be singing Sly for Vaughn. I think they trolling me. Yo, by the way, them songs is fire. I ain't gonna lie.
For some reason, I just don't see them comments no more. For some odd reason. I don't know. Might be the water.
But the main question that people had in regards to King Von was actually directed at his friend and mentor, Lil Durk, with people online saying that if he was really like that, when was he gonna slide for Von? Durk was well aware of the growing calls for revenge in Von's name. He would talk about it in interviews and mention it in his music as well. But according to certain people who were allegedly close to Durk, the Getback had already been handled, and Quando Rondo had already paid for what happened to King Von on that night.
When I say King, y'all say Vaughn. King! No, I don't like that. Y'all gotta say shit loud.
King! 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 Got a drop on this flexing nigga. He from Tennessee. I had a thought.
Hey, somebody always said, slap a car. Somebody always said, slap a car. Look, Khan, who died, yeah. What Goofy said that?
He said, bro, like a cheeseburger. Ain't nothing cheesy over here, Vic. Stupid ass little boy.
Oh, yeah.
Sly for Vaughn, right?
Nobody...
Yeah.
They say you can't say that no more.
Why? Oh, yeah, because of... Wait, no. Like,
They
who died?
say you can't say that no more.
Oh, because of FVG Cash? Or who?
Nah, because Lil Pop.
Oh. What's that?
But I'm just saying, they just say you can't say that no more. That's the new term, like no more Sly for Vaughn.
Because of Lil Pop.
Come, pussy. V.Roy pop up out that car with that new Glock. I wish he would run.
The Getback on Quando Rondo took place on August 19th of 2022 while he was out in Los Angeles working on music, but him and his entourage were completely unaware that they were being trailed by a black SUV with 3 gunmen inside waiting on the right moment to slide. They stopped at a gas station near the famed Beverly Center, a very popular and high-profile area, but the circumstances didn't stop the 3 gunmen from executing a brazen broad daylight shooting. The vehicle that Quando Rondo was in got riddled with bullets, but he miraculously survived. Unfortunately, his 23-year-old cousin Lil Pab wouldn't be so lucky. He was struck multiple times and would be pronounced dead at the scene. There was speculation that this shooting actually had nothing to do with the death of King Von, and that it stemmed from a personal beef that Quando Rondo had with the Hoovers out in Los Angeles because he was a rolling 60 Crip and had disrespected them years prior online. But Durk had multiple songs where he seemingly referenced the shooting. On one of his tracks, he stated that if you couldn't get the main target, kill his homie instead. And when he featured on the Nardo Wick song Who Won't Smoke, he rapped about how people died from pumping gas. A viral clip would surface a Lil Durk on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast with Gilly and Wallow. Wallow tried to give him advice on how he should handle the Sly for Von comments. He told Durk a personal story about how he had to let go of hatred from the past in order to make a better future for himself and those around him.
I forgave my brother died in my grandma's arms.
house that we grew up in. Nigga, my brother, he ran to the house. He died in Natty Harms when she opened the door. So I'm telling you this, some real man. If I ain't let that go, I won't be right here today. I won't be here for my niece and my nephews. Me and Gil won't be doing this. Y'all won't know me. I won't be able to give y'all this game. Now I'm out here taking care of his daughter, paying for her to go to school, taking care of my nephew, taking care of my mama and my grandmama.
Talk to him. Show.
We want to begin now with some breaking news. Rapper Lil Durk is charged in a murder for hire plot.
Lil Durk's real name is Dirk Bank, and he is from Chicago. This is his mugshot from Florida, where he was arrested last night and is being held without bond. This comes only hours after 5 people associated with his music business were also accused in taking part in that murder for hire plot. Now, the plot targeted rapper Quando Rondo's cousin, who was killed in 2022. Investigators believe it was retaliation for the earlier murder of Chicago rapper King Von.
You ain't get back for your mans. You in the club, you ain't dead. Nike ski mask for the COVID. The only time you niggas wear it. And I lost bro, I can't be happy till you creep up on the skull. I know niggas act like they with it, but be bitches on the low. Why you posting sun? Why you niggas posting true? Why you act like you support us? If you do hop in the coupe, grab a gun if you ain't with it. Put up money for a gun. Put up money for a hot car. Put up money for a bond. I don't see you on the regular, but I see you screaming Vaughn. See you screaming Vaughn, boy, no cap. I got killers that I love and they don't rap. No cap, I got rappers that I love and they gon' splat. If I die, just don't lie, man. You niggas better slide. If you can't get the main nigga, then you better get his guys.
At this point, Lil Durk was a Grammy Award-winning artist and one of the most popular rappers in the world. There was no way that he would risk his career just to get street vengeance. But according to the feds, that's exactly what he did. And in October of 2024, Durk and multiple members of his OTF collective were arrested on federal charges, including murder. It said that they had a snitch in the OTF camp who had been feeding law enforcement information for a long time, even laying out the details on how they did the hit on Quando Rondo's cousin. But it seems like Lil Durk did indeed slide for Von, but at what cost? Because now he's in a California jail, possibly facing life in federal prison. Most of the stories that come out of the Chicago drill movement are filled with death, tragedy, and loss. But there is one unlikely success story, that of one of its pioneers, Chief Keef, who would barely say more than just a few words in an interview when he first got into the music industry. But as he matured and his career progressed, he started to open up more, sharing what his thought process was when he first got into the music industry as a young wild kid from Chicago, and how changing his environment changed his life for the better.
First of all, let's be clear, Chief Keef is only 16, so don't be in. Oh, you're not? Why does everybody say you're only 16 years old?
They say what they want to say.
How old are you?
300.
Nah, I was just young and young. The street life had me. You know what I'm saying? Like the streets and everything that came with that, it had me in like a hole, especially in Chicago. So when I moved to LA, I kind of like started getting better as a person type.
Yeah.
So it took me to come to LA to actually grow out of what I was and who I was and how I was. You know, now I'm even talking like you couldn't get me to talk in an interview. I'll tell you what. How are you? 300. Yeah, no. I ain't really speaking. I'm not being vocal. But nowadays, I mean, I got something to say, really.
King Von and T.Roy was a deadly duo who have become synonymous with violence and murder, and the name V.Roy will go down in infamy.